Now wow, people wey suppose talk truth to power don't off mic. And if we talk, now 500,000 they go summer us, call them hate speech. But fear not, Mayego don't come. Ingo torchlight every corner, nooks and cranny of all these bad people where they spoil our country. So my people make we loud, oh, yo, yo. Mayego don't come, oh, yo, yo. My people make we shout, oh, yo, yo. Mayego don't come, oh, yo, yo. Mayego don't come, man of the masses, oh, yo, yo. Mayego don't come, oh, yo, yo. Mayego diary politico, oh, yo, yo. Mayego don't come, oh, yo, yo. This one not the off in mind, oh, yo, yo. Mayego don't come, oh, yo, yo. And in the touchlight every corner, oh, yo, yo. Mayego don't come, oh, yo, yo. Okay, some people be they holla say they want the power. Chai. Them be promise us say we go get light and power. Nah. Them hustle sote they can't get the power. But now they know they do anything with the power. Every day, dollar just they get the higher power over naira. Still them talk say make we off mind. But thank God say Mayego don't come. So my people make you loud, oh, yo, yo. Mayego don't come, oh, yo, yo. My people make we shout, oh, yo, yo. Mayego don't come, oh, yo, yo. Mayego don't come, man of the masses, oh, yo, yo. Mayego don't come, oh, yo, yo. Mayego diary politico, oh, yo, yo. Mayego don't come, oh, yo, yo. This one not the off in mind, oh, yo, yo. Mayego don't come, oh, yo, yo. Person where they do evil, no one make person talk. Them say that Mayego, that man too they talk. He do they talk. Say Mayego diary, he they hot like pepper. But every day then they take money in bulk. Woman picking they the street they hawk. Still them talk say make we no talk. But thank God say Mayego don't come. So my people make you loud, oh, yo, yo. Mayego don't come, oh, yo, yo. My people make you shout, oh, yo, yo. Mayego don't come, oh, yo, yo. Man of the masses, oh, yo, yo. Mayego don't come, oh, yo, yo. Mayego diary politico, oh, yo, yo. Mayego don't come, oh.
Hello there. Good afternoon to you, good evening to you, and good morning to you from wherever you are watching from. This is Mayego live.
Glory Facebook, glory YouTube.
And you are welcome to the temple. TOT. Temple of truth. Tag your friends, share this broadcast, invite your not so friendly friends, and tell them that excuse me, Mayego today. Now tell them, share this broadcast. We are going to London. From London tonight. Yes.
Glory Facebook. And yes, we like Glory YouTube. And yes, we like
You can call tonight the obedient night, because tonight highlight is going to be the OB's appearance at the Chatham House in London. Same thing we did when Kolu was there. If you remember, yeah? Share this broadcast. It's going to be interesting. Sorry, I'm just putting some of the stuff up for you, okay? We're going to start soon.
Mayegun ti dé, gbogbo ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀ súnra kì. Ṣùgbọ́n ní bá ti ṣe èyí tó yẹ kí wọ́n ṣe, ọmọ bá dèrò ní fi wọ́n níran o. Mayegun ti dé.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ni, good evening, good morning, good afternoon once again. Just about 7 weeks ago, a huge embarrassment visited United Kingdom in what later happened to be the show of shame, the highlight of all the show of shames in 2022. And that was Kolu, the man you are seeing on your screen now. So we highlighted all that happened that day. In fact, when Kolu decided to designate people to answer his questions for him. Now we're going to try same thing again tonight with Obi's visit. Some people are saying, like, why are they all coming to the UK for validation? Because they want to be president in Nigeria. How many people who are contesting to be prime minister of UK are visiting Nigeria to give a speech and all that? Well, I may not be able to answer that question for you. But for somebody like myself, Mayegun, the guy who loves to keep the record of who say what and where, so that if I want to tell you something, right, I will be saying them from what I heard them say, even if you have forgotten. And that is why we keep it in the diary. We call it the record. Now, just for a flashback for just about 5 minutes to the 5th of December, when Kolu was in town, if you don't mind, that's where we're going to start from. But for Peter Obi, who came to London today, well, you will be the judge, and I'm going to tell you my own mind too, okay? I am beginning to believe that the force behind this Obi presidency project is actually more than just the angry, frustrated, disappointed young people in Nigeria. It is actually a real threat. And from my own little small mind, I'm not saying I am right. From my small mind, I am beginning to believe that Obi's project is actually the last fight or the last shot of the old order in order for Nigeria not to break up. That if Obi pop up, it could be the beginning of the proper healing that will likely keep Nigeria together for a little bit longer. So if you are laughing at them, I don't think you should, except if you're actually not serious. But if you are, it doesn't matter what side or which side you belong to. There's something bigger than what you're actually seeing. And the closer they are getting to this, is what or clearer this is going to be. But for the diary, right, on the 5th of December, we witnessed the visit of Kolu to London to talk about his own program. But I am not going to bore you with all he said. The last time we checked, we actually listened to all he said, by the way. But tonight, no. But the part where people were asking him questions and the drama started, remember? I would like to take you back to that before we delve fully into tonight's program. You're for it.
Tells me about
this one who is talking is a lawyer, by the way. But let's move it a little bit forward to when he decided to delegate. Hang on. I think let's start from here, if you don't mind, guys.
Yeah. And second part of my question, there's loads of kidnapping of women and girls in Nigeria, rape of our young children in Nigeria. Can you tell us, Your Excellency, how this will be managed? Thank you.
Thank you very much for being very precise. Mr. Tunumbu, we had many questions coming in live stream about how you're going to combat terrorism and violence against women, including from Bolupi Omosori. So the gentleman right here on the corner, yes, you, sir. There's a microphone there. Please go ahead. Please be no long speech. We don't have time. So put your phone down. You're an intelligent gentleman. I know you can ask it straight.
Well, my name is Odiana Sadamnek Matthew. Thank you, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, for taking this opportunity to come and speak to us. You may know that I was one of your beneficiaries, even though I grew up in Lagos, but I was never a native. But I was granted the opportunity to work in Lagos State, even though I was from a different state. So that, tells me about how your policy is likely to be. But my question is this, because having worked for 10 years, there as a social development worker and youth worker during your administration in Lagos State, before coming here to qualify as a solicitor, practicing here in the UK, I'm more concerned about the young people. What program do you have for our young people? As you know, most political parties benefit from they benefit from the goodwill of young people. Okay. And so have you got plans, that would generate training, appointment, and also job security?
Okay, thank you so much. So what are your plans for youth, young people? If you would like to answer the questions, Mr. Tunumbu. Please, if we can keep quiet in one conversation here. Thank you. Go ahead.
Let me once demonstrate here. One of those philosophers I wanted doctrine that I believe firmly in is teamship. Unbreakable team. To demonstrate that, I will choose the first question, assign it to Dele Alake.
Okay.
And the second question, assign to Nasiru El-Rufai. And third question, assigned to Ben Ayade.
All right, so can we have microphone coming in the front? And the first question is about blood oil. Oil. There, this gentleman. There. Yeah, El-Rufai, I can see him. Yeah. Please go ahead.
Security, Nasiru El-Rufai.
Yes, thank you very much. Now, the issue of oil theft in Nigeria is as deep-seated, and it's been long-standing. It's been there. It's not a new development, as we all know. It's been there for decades, and then we discover the various dimensions daily. Now, the incoming administration, by the grace of God, of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has devised some novelties in terms of strategies. First of all, to combat oil theft is tied to the security situation of Nigeria. Now, the questioner has linked it with connivance with the security agencies. Now, the Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration has a three-pronged approach to this. In terms of regenerating, revamping, and recalibrating the security equipment, technology, that's one. The human angle, in terms of the size of the security too. Today, we have over 200 million people, and there's no way the current strength of our security agencies can adequately cope with the gargantuan and enormous problems of security, securing lives and property. So the personnel of all the security or coercive agencies will be increased to cope with the large population of Nigeria. That's another dimension. The third dimension is really employing state-of-the-art technology like drones. We know today that there is, in terms of kidnapping.
That's Dele Alake talking. Now, let me quickly add something, just for the sake of all of you listening to me, okay? Tonight is likely going to be a sort of a good night for the obedient in what I am going to share with you. And this is not coming from just myself. It is coming from how your man performed in London, okay? Now, listen to this. Maybe because I streamed it live, so I was able to listen to everything that happened in that meeting. Just same way I streamed live Kolu's embarrassing show in London last month. Now, I am Mayegun General, the platform that connects all Nigerians and non-Nigerians all together, where everybody, one way or the other, find balance. And it is simply because, hi, Mayegun General, I have publicly sworn, times without numbers, right, that I am anti-establishment in Nigeria, that criminal rigged system in Nigeria. And over time, when you disagree or you publicly criticize the system in Nigeria, right, you are kind of considered as somebody, as a rebel, and you are advised to go and join party and come and take over government if the way they are running it is not comfortable with you. Now, over time, this establishment has also breeded army of, uneducated, miseducated, at the same time, unemployed, unemployable army of young people. Now, what we figured out is this. The enemies of Nigeria, they have names, and they also have their backers. So for somebody like myself, who continue to stand on the truth, I choose something different from what majority of those who actually on Mayegun's diary political chooses. But what brought us all together? The injustice, the inequality, the impunity, and count it on, the corruption and the poverty, that we have come to realize that these are not God-made or whatever, these are man-made. So somebody like myself then believe that for a country like Nigeria to really work and the people inside it, then you have to do the right thing. Follow the right thing. And what is that right thing? Let all the nations that are forced together inside Nigeria decide, come together like this and decide if they still want to be one country or not. That's the choice. Let them have a choice. And guess what? Already, the injustice, the impunity, which cut across, by the way, has already brought to fore the agitation for the division of Nigeria. It's not hidden. So because Nigeria is so mismanaged, and majority of Nigerians are so miseducated, humbled slaves, obedient fools, sophisticated morons, I am talking about those who are very happy in their chains. So when you say something about referendum, when you say something about independence for regions and all of that, because of the poor and miseducation in Nigeria, they will think you are calling for war. Why? The establishment trained them to believe so. So somebody like us then feels like the system in Nigeria is going to self-destruct. Now, if it is going to self-destruct, isn't it ideal? Even for you that is supporting the system, even those of you who want to rescue the system, isn't it good for you to actually understand? And in total, what lead to Nigeria's explosion, implosion? Wouldn't you love to see that? Because I am one of those who want to make sure that you stop blaming God or blaming stop pointing fingers, because every one of us has a role to play, is playing a role in what is happening to Nigeria today. So I choose a side. And my side is, if Nigeria is a country, you watching me right now, number one, you are not going to be mad that people are demanding for Biafra or demanding for Yoruba nation. These are legitimate demand and they are democratic demand, right? But they have messed up with your brains, messed up with your lives so much that your lives have now been sort of hung between PDP and APC. Okay, for those of us who will never succumb to those, right? We remain in the fringes, right? We stayed at the back of the whole thing to watch you destroy yourselves. Now, from nowhere, actually from nowhere, a group of young people pulled a political movement, right? That is now making the establishment uncomfortable. So you want to blame me for showing that and sharing that with people as well. So that automatically made me a Labour Party member, Abi. It automatically made me an I have no political value. Let me actually tell you that. As much as a lot of you are pointing fingers at everyone but yourselves for the calamity and destruction you have brought upon Nigeria and yourselves, you don't point the fingers at yourselves. You are looking for who to blame for your miserable lives. But you see, for somebody like me, that you think you could call terrorist for demanding legitimately for an independent region that was forced together through the force of guns in 1966. You prefer the establishment to call me a terrorist. Yes, you humble slaves, obedient fools. Yeah, you prefer that. In fact, me telling you that these people don't mean well for you and even proving it and showing it makes you even want the establishment, the people who keep you in chains, the people who keep you in that contraption, the heartless criminals, the criminals that you worship. You wish they do something to somebody like me for actually preaching the right thing, because that's how you are made. Now, for somebody like me that you probably feels like I would never, or people like myself would never amount to anything that will press the establishment to actually call for what we are asking for. If you are going to be united, there must be conditions. That's what they are not giving you the chance. Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba, Fulani, Ijo, Ishekiri, nobody was given a chance if they want to be part of Nigeria or not. Under what condition? Nobody. You know that. The criminals who are now misleading you and ruining your lives and ruining the lives of those who actually don't support them. You want them to be called terrorists. You want them to be killed and jailed while you remain in your own slavery. So for somebody like me, okay, I don't like violence. Sure, I don't. But guess what? I kind of love the fact that the obedience that you now see today, they are actually making you so miserable. And not just yourselves, including your miserable, useless leaders. Now, listen to this. So, remember I said, we were waiting for you to destroy yourselves, self-destruct. You've already pressed that. Your leaders have pressed that. Fine. But the obedient now became your karma. So I don't have any electoral value. So if you look at me and you say, I am obedient, or I am a Labour Party, and you obedient, by the way, listen, I am still Mayegun. Tonight will be your night. I can see that. Your Obi actually performed well in London today. I will have to give that to you without any bias. Sure you get. And I know that a lot of you have so many bragging rights, but they are waiting for you on the 25th of December, of February, which I am also going to document, because I am more interested in what happened after that, by the way. So you may wake up tomorrow and then tonight you may go to bed and say, I love this Mayegun. Don't love me because I'm saying something good about your Obi now. You and the entire movement of yours, which I am very privy to the genesis of it, is a perfect case of what you can describe as karma. Very, very good karma. And we are waiting to see how long this is going to last. Lagos Abobakus, Oshogbo Alimajiris, ombud slaves, obedient fools, sophisticated morons, your uncles and aunties abroad, the mumumadus, the belle lecturers, the mumu lecturers, the articulated morons, the articuluters, the rest of the pickpockets, all these crumb eaters, crumb chasers, ass lickers. See, say me and you, we get history. So tonight you can call me obedient or call me anything you want to call me. At the end of the day, just like Pastor Ruga said, we all know that pretend today, pretend tomorrow. The truth of the matter is that last, Pastor Ruga, last,
You don't pass, last, everybody goes up breakfast.
Which is true. So the last time Kalu was in London, it was a big embarrassment. Oh dear, Team Sheep and so many other nonsense they actually shared there. Kalu, a sick old man. There are so many jobless, useless humans are already waiting to take advantage of, same way they took advantage of Bokwari, a sadistic criminal himself. Now, the result is what I talk about. So I kind of actually follow result. The only thing that could shut somebody like me up is when the right thing is done. You can't pretend about the right thing. You can't ignore it. And so far, so good. APC, Egbekegbe, shouldn't even be like standing up in any conversation. Including your uncles and aunties abroad, though, the ways that stayed abroad, those ones who sold change to you. At the same time, they came back, they sold you the next devil. Yet you are languishing in that same contraption created by the criminals. So they brought him to London. He was running away from the press in Nigeria. So they brought him to London. Here is another part. I think he was actually talking here, right? Check this one. He was talking here. Let me get the volume.
That electronic transmission, the technology being used for, but
let's just long time today talking about the problems that Nigeria. The lady there, you, yes.
Listen.
Please tell us who you are and keep your. No, it's the lady behind you. I'm so sorry.
My name is Gogoloma Mariam Adewale, Nigerian in diaspora of over 40 years. I know we have remittances over 30 billion remitted to Nigeria from worldwide every year. And I do appreciate that the leaders, they do come every electoral cycle to speak to us in diaspora, but we can't vote. Is there any plans you have, sir, with regards to diaspora voting?
Thank you so much. Good question. So,
in fact, Mary, there's actually one I wanted to share with you. When he called on El Rufaya to talk about security. Can you believe that? El Rufaya to come and talk about security demand that a few days after this meeting in London, the same El Rufaya went on to supervise the genocide that took place again in Southern Kaduna. Here is the other part of the joke before we go to what happened in London today. Kalu.
So, Governor El Rufai, please go ahead.
Your Excellencies, my friend, Mr. Alex Vines, ladies and gentlemen. Security has been a big issue in Nigeria in the last few years, and that has affected not only rural economies, but agricultural production, commerce, and everything else. The Bola Tinubu administration will address these challenges or whatever remains of it after the efforts of this administration in at least 3 ways. First, policing. Nigeria has about 300,000 policemen for a population of over 200 million. We need at least twice that number. That will be achieved by amending the constitution so that policing can be at federal, state, and even at community levels. With increased security footprint, there will be less and less of criminal activity. The second step is to look at our armed forces and security architecture. Nigerian armed forces are not more than 200,000 in size, the Army, Navy, the Air Force. While some countries are even looking at a space military, we are struggling with just less than 200,000 members of the armed forces for a country with a population of 200 million plus. The numbers, the equipment, the skills, and the training of the armed forces will be scaled up, will be increased rapidly to meet the asymmetric nature of the security challenges that we face. Because today, the armed forces are not fighting with other countries, they are fighting with non-state actors. And the doctrine, the training, the numbers must change. And the Bola Tinubu administration already has a blueprint which is embedded in our action plan to address this. We'll scale up the numbers of the armed forces, we'll ramp up not only the numbers, but the training and equipment. In Nigeria, in 1967, the total size of the Nigerian army was only 10,000. Because of the civil war, within a year, we ramped it up to 250,000. So it can be done. And what we are facing in Nigeria today, banditry, terrorism, separatism, and oil theft requires a new approach towards security, enhancing the numbers, providing enhanced.
They call terrorist sympathizer demand that publicly bragged that it traveled all over Africa to invite the terrorists, Fulani terrorists, back to Nigeria because their brother is now in charge. He publicly said that. So that is your future defense minister, by the way, when Kolu become your president. But let's go to London, where Peter Obi and his own obedience were on ground. And just like we accorded the Kolu, I will play a part of his presentation. Then I will share more about him answering questions from the people. The only question that I was expecting people to ask him, but they didn't, is about restructuring Nigeria. But somebody, who happened to be the first question, by the way, came from Huddersfield. And the guy, which I believe is an Agbadorian, by the way, asked a question about IPOB. Why is Peter Obi not condemning IPOB activities? And what is Peter Obi going to do about security, what have you? And I think that was the interesting, first interesting part of the conversation. Then at some point, Priscilla asked Obi again about power and understanding the corruption around power, including the market and economy that surrounds the darkness in Nigeria, which is the economy of a generator economy. And from that moment, people started shouting, Mikano, Mikano, Mikano. And you know that the Mikano boys are the Atifku boys, because it was suspected then that Mikano got his license of supplying or selling electricity generator in Nigeria through Atifku. So some people now said Atifku owned Mikano. What happened is that he didn't. He's not the owner of Mikano. In fact, okay, it's not. But he's a facilitator of how Mikano came to Nigeria as business. And I don't think Mikano is one of their SVPs. No, SPVs. Have you heard about Atifku's SPVs? Special purpose vehicles. They are not cars, oh. They are not vehicles. Oh. They are companies, like shell companies. that they set up, Vice President of Nigeria, setting up shell companies to use in seeking and collecting contracts that are not to be executed. And all of that set up by TIFCU. They are called SPVs, Special Purpose Vehicles, but we'll come to that. So he said in his statement, the reason why he wants to be president of Nigeria is because he is coming to dismantle the structure of corruption, the structure of injustice, the structure of impunity, and structure of all of this structure. Okay, that sounds good, especially to the young people who are like looking for a new order, which I now suspect is so ready to fill that expectation of young people, and it is doing the job, whether you actually wanted it to be that way or not. Somebody like me didn't see this coming, but it is happening. And therefore, you should acknowledge it. How you go about it is a different ball game. So he came to London today. Chatham House. Somebody said, why must they all go to Chatham? I said, see, that's not for me to answer. I am more interested in what happened when it got there. And you should too, as we have been doing. Whatever they say, I am not here to make you get convinced. Obedient will love you to get convinced. Obedient will want you to feel like this is what we have seen in our man. This is our man. This is what we have been saying. But I have to admit, for the first time, you know, I've shared a lot of his speeches, his conversation and all of that before now. And just like Kolu too, right? I don't know. Maybe it's our own ear here in the UK. Maybe not the here with this place, they are Tegun. Because even Kolu, who was reading from a teleprompter, yeah, was kind of more alive. You remember or you've forgotten? Same thing with Toby today. It was more kind of like alive. But this time around, alive all through, not Kolu halfway. You don't get what I'm saying, Abi? I'll show you. Just a quick one, okay? Kolu, where are you? So let's go back to when Kolu was presenting and he was reading. People who know him as somebody shaky and all of that, for the first time, forget about the teleprompter. He was very kind of fluent. Abi, look at this.
For our nation. And let this election be determined by voters, making their choice freely rather than domineering intimidation and trouble some few. Indeed, there's more than a passing interest in Nigeria. Politics generally and upcoming elections in particular for several reasons. For one, as Africa's most populous country and the continent's largest economy, it is generally acknowledged that fortunes of the African continent and indeed the Black race is tied directly to the health of Nigeria. Also, the Nigerian elections of 2023 are coming up at a time when the country's immediate geographical neighborhood of West Africa and Central Africa is undergoing serious political turmoil that has manifested itself in the incursion of the military to power in a number of countries. In spite of legitimate concerns being expressed by observers, Nigerians are resolutely committed to democracy, regardless of their political differences.
shortly are pervasive across our dear country. This Chatham House event challenges us to a new thinking.
I am very sorry that the audio went off that time that I've been talking, okay? But all I said at the time was that we will be going into Peter Obi's conversation, okay? Where, like we did with Kolu. So what we're going to do is that to make sure that we give them all equal chance. I said Obi was reading his own statement from his handwritten speech, not teleprompter. So, which is very obvious. And then I want you to check the countenance and the wordings and all of that, okay? We'll come back to that intermittently, right? Then we're going to spend like about 5 minutes listening to his introduction. He spoke for about 30 minutes. But I'm just going to play his speech in parts, okay? Then we're going to go to the part where he was answering questions by himself. What did he say? And how much of that can you actually put on record and say, word on Mabu? Do you get that? So yeah, that's what we're going to do. And I'm sorry that the volume was very much off at the time, okay? So let's go back.
Properties, significant decline in food and economic output, immense trauma that has compromised the mental health of communities, and in some cases, identity pressures and disaffection with the Nigerian project. The economy is in crisis with a troubling debt profile worsened by oil theft of proportion once hard to imagine. 2 economic recessions in 6 years and lamentable power sector that have significantly constrained manufacturing and social life. The Nigerian state is captive to an elite gang-up and a rentier political economy that concentrated power in hands of those who came to power and influence mainly through their own contrivances and influence rather than affirmation of the people, and therefore do not have the incentive to serve the people. Even after exploiting the ethnic and religious cleavages, sentiments to ascend to political power, the very people on whose sentiments they grab power often become the primary victims of such political fraud that has rendered Nigeria a failing state with worsening leadership crisis. Consequently, Nigerian democracy had been on the wane, evident in Afrobarometer longitudinal tracking, which reveals low voter turnout. But this seems to have turned around dramatically last year, allowing independent National Electoral Commission to register over 12 million new voters, with many more complaining they wish to register, but unable to do so due to the INEC deadline. What prompted this turnaround? We may ask. The reason for these very high stakes are lurking in the face of demographics, with our dominant population, the youth, frustrated and unhappy with the status quo and diminished opportunities in Nigeria in an age of globalization, when internet can easily reveal to them prosperous homes of those who live in a better led and governed countries. How did we, Nigeria, plunk or get here in such an economic decline that we have overtaken India as a home for the biggest pool of absolute poor in the world, when they are 7 times our population? While the poverty rate in India is 16%, that of Nigeria is 63%, with 133 million people classified as multidimensionally poor. This is unacceptable and needs to change. What Nigeria needs is a great escape. As 2015 Nobel Prize winner in economics, Angus Deaton, of Princeton University elucidated that what separates poor and rich nations is attributed to health and education. But what provides quality health and educational system for a society committed and focused leadership that can build and sustain public wealth, as I was told by Professor Donald Jacob of Kellogg School of Management. In many ways, this is the heart of my remarks today, which are deeply rooted in my upbringing, particularly my mother's counsel, that I live a life of positive impact and manage both personal and public resources most prudently for the sustainable, inclusive growth of development of the society. It is this principle that guided my stewardship as governor of Anambra State of Nigeria and led to our much commended performance with some prize awards to show for it. Some awards for outstanding accomplishments in key Millennium Development Goals, now Sustainable Development Goals. It is the same counsel and principle that is guiding and motivating me to offer to serve in a new Nigeria. The answer lies in leadership, institution, and demographics. The good news is that the demography is driving the change we're seeing in Africa, with election after election last year in Africa, in which establishment parties are being upturned by new and small parties. It is this change that my vision of policy change and institutional development is rooted in a push for a broadened scope of social mobility and freedom for Nigeria, particularly for the youths and women. Like the former British Prime Minister, Harold Macmillan, said, at the start of the independence decade, a wind of change is blowing across Africa. Today, that new wind of change sees the ballot box as being instrumental to changing of bad leadership. Senator Yusuf Dat Ahmed, my running mate, and I are committed to new politics that start with ethics of servant leaders and anchored on marriage of clean hands.
So that's Peter Obi presenting his case, or should I say his full manifesto. Of course, he's reading them, and he probably, have some input in that, which shows in this section where in the question and answer segment. And let me know if you can hear me, by the way, before I continue again. How is the audio? Can you hear me? Can you? Sorry, I'm so sorry that this is going to show up in the replay for those who are actually watching. So I want to make sure of that before I continue. Okay, Grant. Now, that's Obi presenting his case right there. A very long speech that covered almost everything except the Constitution and all those areas, which I believe that is hiding from, until some questions started popping up. Okay, so he spoke well. If you listen, though, whatever is written in that book that he read out were actually really good, just like what Kolu was also reading. Unfortunately for Kolu, when Kolu says anything, is in contrast to what Bokwari is doing. Anytime Kolu says they want to do something, it is to tell you that they want to correct the destruction brought by Bokwari. So every campaign of Kolu is like a campaign against Bokwari, and this clash of interest is affecting them in a way, okay? So he read fine, written, but there is no better time than when the candidate can answer questions themselves from whatever they wrote down, or whatever they have just read to the people, right? So I'm going to let you listen to a bit more from his speech. Then we'll go to the question and answer time. The part I'm actually so interested in, honestly speaking, the part where he actually spoke like a real Democrat, Now, you know something I said, by the way? I said something about miseducation in Nigeria. It has ruined Nigeria. Imagine you as a young person who should be educated, right? And then realizing that historically, from where you come from, there used to be a government there that was called the regional government that was actually not just part of Nigeria. They are autonomous of Nigeria. And they did so wonderfully well before this so madness happened. And then because of the miseducation and the trauma, the abuses that you have been subjected to as Nigerians, you decided to go against such idea through miseducation. And yet, democracy allowed you to choose whatever you want, and you can push it through any means without any intimidation or fear of arrest or death like you are witnessing in Nigeria. So they threw it at him, and he answered the question like a politician. But I don't care how he answered it. I want you to pay attention to what he said. And in the process, you are likely going to get what he is not saying. In all of it, right? I'm going to give him 10-10. When it comes to the area of how divided Nigeria is right now, what is fueling the division of Nigeria, it was 100% honest. And that is for him, 10-10. But we'll get to that part, right? Let's listen to the other part of his speech. Let me see if I can forward that. I'll fast forward that a bit for you.
Of foreign exchange. When unaffordable subsidies are removed, some carefully calibrated transfers will be used to cushion adverse impact on economically weak. If the competitiveness of sector is to be enhanced, then we will do so via enactment of transparent and specifically target fiscal and trade policies designed to stimulate investment and growth. Revenue shortfalls and leakages such as oil theft will be dealt with decisively by holding persons in position of authority fully accountable. The fourth plank of our governance priorities is to leapfrog into the fourth industrial revolution through application of scientific technological innovation to create digital economy. Building on the gains of agriculture-led manufacturing and export, we will pursue development of knowledge and skills to leverage on the emerging disruptive digital technologies, automation, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, robotics, virtual reality, blockchain technology, biotechnology, and data science, all of which are the heart of the fourth industrial revolution. The fifth plank of our government priorities is to build expansive infrastructure for efficient power supply, rail, road, and air transportation, and pipeline network through integrated public-private partnership and entrepreneurial public sector governance. Our solution to the perennial power problem in Nigeria is comprehensive and it's well covered in our manifesto. We will ensure that we deal with the issue of transmission, distribution. However, we will immediately complete the 2.3 billion Nigeria Siemens network improvement deal to achieve a stable 7,000 by the end of this year, 11,000 megawatts by 2024, and 25,000 megawatts by 2025. We will support local manufacturing capacities and power technologies and encourage and expand local R&D in universities, training centers, and workshops, through which many jobs will be created. Our sixth priority program is to enhance human capital development of our youth for productivity and global competitiveness through investment in education, in research, quality health, and entrepreneurial education. The World Bank Human Capital Development Index ranks Nigeria 168 over 173. To move Nigeria right to the top bracket of the index, we will pursue a Marshall Plan type program on education that incorporates compulsory technical and vocational skills, sports, entrepreneurship, programming, digital skills from primary to secondary school level. In line with this commitment to transform our educational sector, we will prioritize funding of this critical sector. Our tertiary institution will be remodeled to serve as hubs and centers of research, development, and commercialization of ideas for quick industrialization of Nigeria. Finally, our seventh priority is to conduct an Afrocentric diplomacy that protects the rights of Nigerian citizens abroad, advances the economic interests of Nigerians and Nigerian businesses in a changing world. In concluding, let me say that the problem with Nigeria is at once complex and simple. It rests on leadership. As our erudite Professor Chinua Achebe stated, the trouble with Nigeria is simply and squarely a failure of leadership. In Achebe's view, there's nothing basically wrong with Nigerian character. The Nigerian problem is the unwillingness or inability of its leaders to rise to the responsibility, to the challenge of leading in the front by example, which is the hallmark of true leadership. When people of competence, character, commitment, compassion take over the leadership and pursue their mission and tasks with seriousness required, a new Nigeria characterized by peace, unity, prosperity, inclusiveness will be achieved and sustained. That is what driving Dati, Baba Ahmed, and I to join to offer to lead this desire and crusade of Nigerian, particularly the youth, for an inclusive and sustainable Nigeria that works for all. In line with my upbringing, especially my mother's counsel, my promise is that Nigerian resources will be most prudently used for Nigerians. And as Commander-in-Chief, I, Mr. Peter, will sincerely pledge that our path with Nigeria will be diligently pursued to create a new Nigeria characterized by sustained and inclusive growth and development for all. Thank you, and God bless all of you.
So that's OB's 7-point agenda explained or read by him. But the interesting part is about to start, okay? The interesting part is when he has to actually answer questions, at least concerning his own listed manifestos and all that. That's where the interesting part started. I mean, this particular part is quite a little bit hilarious, right? The moderator was asking, would you like to come and sit down while they ask you a question, or you prefer to stand there? And he was like, no, I'm all right here. I'll stand and take the questions. So that was the beginning of the bragging right of the obedient this afternoon. Like, yes, he's not a sick man. He can stand. Listen to it. Can you stand?
Thank you. Peter, I don't know if you want to sit for a moment while we take a few questions. We'll take them in threes, or you can stay there as you wish.
Yeah.
Look, the first question, we have, at the moment, the analytics are showing we have tens of thousands of people watching. So my apologies if you are on Facebook, YouTube, the Chatham House channel.
So that's their first bragging right for the afternoon. Or wait for the firefighter, and I mean, fire for fire now. It happened that the first person to ask a question this time around, you can tell, is an Agbadorian, a typical bigoted Yoruba man. I'm a Yoruba man, so don't think I don't know what I'm talking about. When you see any Yoruba man, after all that they should know today, come out boldly to say, in Nigeria that is exploding today, Peter Obi as an Igbo man, is responsible for whatever IPOB or anything that happens in Eastern Nigeria is responsible for that. But Tifnumbu is not responsible for the insecurity in Yoruba land. Okay? Atifku is not responsible. Atifku Kwakwanso, they are not responsible for the insecurity up north. So you can tell where they are coming from. I have explained that many times. These bigoted Yorubas who have nothing else to actually drag other Yorubas into this their fraudulent Nigeria, one Nigerian project of Tifnumbu, which started in 2015. Right? That's the guy. I'm going to come to him now. Okay? Let me see if I can just put him on hold. Okay? His question, his concern is asking Peter Obi about the insecurity in Eastern Nigeria. When APC, Egbekegbe, the one in charge of Nigeria today, who has escalated the insecurity in Eastern Nigeria, in Western Nigeria, as well as all over Nigeria. But they are not responsible for that. They bigoted the criminals abroad, the Wirizaran abroad, but they left Nigeria. Nigeria didn't leave them. That's the genesis of the conversation, this the question and answer time. And maybe you should listen. Listen.
My name is Ajiboye Tumishi from Huddersfield University. So my question is simple. The activities of the IPOB
Oh, sorry about that. And just once again, whenever you see anybody, whether the person is Hausa Fulani or a Yoruba man or woman, once they start their conversation with IPOB, just know that those are the bigoted criminals who are always going to trade on tribal and then any other card that have nothing to do with the suffering that you're actually facing today. While the criminals, their own criminal leaders in charge of Nigeria, responsible for keeping you safe, but they have abandoned you, right? While they are there, shielded, this weary that ran away from Nigeria could go abroad and start asking a candidate running to be a president or a presidential candidate in an election in Nigeria. He can open his mouth and start asking him about IPOB. He's not interested in that. They are just looking for a way to say, gotcha. You know, that gotcha moment. Oh, what can we say just to make him, he will never, and he continue. This guy continue to say he has nothing to do with Biafra. In fact, Biafra is dead. But you see these Agbadorians abroad, where is they ran away from Nigeria using education. I'm running a PhD. I'm running a master's degree. There's no master where they are running here. These Olori Brukus are running away from Nigeria. From the change and next devil, they left you in Nigeria. Looking for visa, student visa to the UK. They are not coming here for any education nonsense, because they are escaping from Nigeria. But from away, those of you all there that are left in Nigeria, these are the ways on social media telling you that don't worry, you are born to suffer. And listen to this. IPOB is their problem, not the government that failed to provide you safety and security in this instance. Don't worry, because I know them. Listen again.
in Nigeria is on alarming rate every day. And with all the policy, beautiful ideas that you've listed down, sir, without tackling security head-on, they are impossible. So one of the allegations given to you is that you've not condemned the activities of the IPOB. So, and the tackling of security.
Can you sum up, please?
Let me land. Tackling of security.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, let's.
Sorry, I'm a student. We are to line. Tackling of security. How will you tackle it, sir? Are you introducing? Yes.
Please.
Are you introducing state police, or are you strengthening the federal government security apparatus? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have another question that has come in, which I want to ask from our virtual audience, and it's from Vivian Akeredolu, who's asking the following. Vivian is asking, for many years, Nigeria has underinvested in healthcare. What are your plans for achieving universal health coverage, where access to healthcare is a right rather than a privilege, as well as ensuring sustained funding for epidemic preparedness and response? We did have a similar question for Mr. Tinubu in the last session that we did. So there are 3 questions there for you, Peter, and then I'll come through the audience here. Please just be patient.
First question is, how do you deal with the legislators, considering that Labour Party is probably not in control of the legislative arm of the government? Quite frankly, I've been through this as a governor. When I was elected and sworn in as the governor, I have 30 House members, not from my party. In fact, nobody from my party was involved. As long as you are pursuing what is right, everybody will go with you, because the legislator is insecure in his place. He knows that his people are without job, and that's what he wants. He wants development. What else is he elected to do? It becomes a problem when you are pursuing transactional policies, which will benefit you, or you're engaging in nepotism where you have to. But if you address it by strictly following the Constitution, which spells out that the system is characterized by simply that we have diversity and all is included, and you did the right things, you don't need to worry about that. On the issue of IPOB, maybe you're not following me. Even yesterday, I spoke about Biafra being ended 53 years ago. It's all over the place in the space. I condemn all agitators, but in condemning them, you have to look at what brought about these agitations all over the place. It's not only IPOB. We have Yoruba Nation movement. We have all sorts. When you have created this level of massive poverty, where 63% of your population is poor, you're going to create all sorts of problems. I was speaking to a British minister this morning. I said we have about 40% unemployment. And we have about 60% youth unemployment, young people in their productive age doing nothing. If you have 15% unemployment in Britain today, you're going to have massive, remember, agitation. Nobody will be able to leave his house. So what you're seeing is a cumulative effect of leadership failure over the years, which will be solved by good governance. When people start seeing justice, fairness, and inclusive government and doing the right thing, all those things will start reversing itself. And that is what me and that is offering. I will talk and discuss with all agitators. There's nothing wrong in that. People agitate even in my house, and I talk with them. So I'll deal with everybody. I'll show you of that. Don't worry about that. On the issue of health, yes, we have a problem with health.
Sorry, I'm gonna let you listen to his answer on health. Listen, isn't that what people have been asking for? right? People didn't just wake up just from nowhere and they started agitating again that they want to leave Nigeria. Don't pretend like people just woke up one day and they just started feeling like, hey, we are going to break up. Then you are just an hypocrite if you believe that. People are being chased away from their ancestral lands. And people are being slaughtered in their sleep. Women, children are being killed by invading, ravaging Fulani terrorists. While the system generally that keeps everybody marginalized enough. Poor young people out there. Why do you think the Boko Haram are getting more people recruited into their murderous army? Why? Is it not because Nigeria continues to shun out the population of millions of young people that they have no plan for? No plan for you. Where do you think they are recruiting from? And if some people who now feels like the future of their own children and children matter, and with the way Nigeria is going, if nothing is done in our own lifetime, we will lose everything completely. And they started saying, no, we're not going to sit back and just die. So don't pretend like people just woke up from nowhere and we are going Yoruba nation, Biafra. Alabosi ninyi. Alabosi lopoju nunyi. Most of you are hypocrites. Continue to pretend. What people who said they want to leave for is because if Nigeria continue the way it is, right, we will continue to kill ourselves. Our children are going to born into this acrimony. They're going to be born into this mess. And a lot of people who can imagine what this means. Total collapse of a system that doesn't give a damn about you. All have almost collapsed, haven't they? So don't pretend like people just woke up from nowhere and say, we are going to. So his answer makes sense to me. The first thing that happened is that people need to know, even the establishment in Nigeria need to understand that people are going to agitate when they feel excluded. And in this case, the entire people in Nigeria have been excluded from the governance of their country. You are just validators. You don't know. The elites are united. And the misrule and the robbery and the corruption you are witnessing in Nigeria, they are doing. You are just the victim who are just at the wrong of the ladder. So what do you think will happen? People will turn to crime. The sensible ones feel like the future is not of crime. The future is the independence of this region. The solution is to retract and reverse the misdirection that they took Nigeria from 1966 by being honest. Asking that you want your own country is democratic. It's none of violence. Nigeria unleashed violence on people who are done with this rigged system. They call them terrorists. And they have been doing everything, including some of you miseducated Agbadorians and mechanites. Miseducated Nigerianists. Asking for your own country is not a sin. In fact, on its own, it is a huge political movement on its own. But Nigeria decided to criminalize it. And this guy is saying that I will listen to everybody. Number one, there's no point in killing them. That could be the beginning. I'm not asking you to support him or not support him. I've told you I'm not getting any electoral value. If you are angry with me or you mad with me as you are watching me right now, Baba, go and see your doctor before you enter market. I know they vote, and I'm not asking anybody to vote. But I am saying that the reason why everything is so hostile, so hard, so harsh, and the hatred, the division, all of these things you are witnessing today, all of you are carrying them out. You are just doing the biddings of the rogues above there who enjoys and derives their power from this your acrimony and nonsense. So mine is just to let you see through it. So if somebody says that it is not a crime to ask for your own country, and in his own mind, he could use the balance of government, inclusiveness, and all of that to douse the tension. He is a politician. They talk a lot, Abi. But that is a right thing to say in a country as divided as Nigeria without having to be shady about it. Tifnumbu was telling us that all of you running abroad, So far. You better don't go to Canada. And you want that to be a motivation? Show Yawirini. The people that say will continue the legacy of Boko Haram, kidnapping and killing innocent people, jailing innocent people. Just because you have been so comfortable in your slavery. I like it too. If they are peppering you and making you or giving you sleepless nights, one of the things I actually wish that will shock you, that will lead to the whole wahala is this. If somehow, Peter Obi and his people and his obedient, they can't shock you. Agbadorian become the president of Nigeria. Shebi you, some of you don't that head, suffer head wearies, who are denying Yoruba land, Yoruba nation because of Fekolu and the Agbado they are offering you. Sure, you know, go come back and value Yoruba then, We know your type. Kolu became prominent by joining Afenifere, lying to the Yoruba people that his purpose of being a politician was because of the Yoruba land. And today, he is not even so proud to stand anywhere and say, I am going to stand for Yoruba people. I am going to defend the Yoruba nation. No, he can't. And you on-boot slaves, crumb eaters, ass lickers, crumb chasers, all risers. Your days are numbered. If the oath in Pafuka on the 25th, and Kolu is nowhere, Shey Yoruba nation will now make sense to you. Abi, you will still be laughing. No, you may not be laughing, Abi. Your days are numbered. Now, listen to another part of the conversation. The guy was answering question on health. I just thought I should mention that when people feel like they are looking for the gotcha moment.
And because our government have not prioritized our development agenda, everybody knows that the only measure of development that is recognized globally today is Human Development Index. And this is hanged on 3 items: life expectancy, which is health. And we are low in that. Nigerian life expectancy today is about 50-something, as against the global average of 72. So we're low. Same in education. So it's to prioritize that. I just gave somebody an example. In the past 5 years, from 2015 to 2021, Nigerian budget in health is under 2.5 trillion naira for 200 million people. It's unacceptable. Even this year, our budget for health is about 1.5 trillion. Our budget for education is about 2 trillion. 2 of them combined, annual budget is about 3.5 trillion. When your 6-month budget for subsidy, which is a criminalized, listen, if 3.6 trillion is unacceptable. You have to put money in key development areas, as Professor Johnson has just mentioned, and I read out here, that what separates country, rich and poor, is health and education. So it's clear. So we will deal with it. But they said, how do you cover it? Nations of our size have covered it. How did India, for 1.4 billion people, cover issue of health? How did Indonesia cover that? We have big nations that have done it well. If we don't know how to do it, we learn from them. There's nothing wrong in learning if you don't know how to do it.
I'm going to take more questions. Now, there is someone who has such a strong arm. Their arm has been up for 15 minutes. Now, I'm not going to say that's criteria for taking question next time, but madam, you get the question. You have the strongest arm in the audience. Please introduce yourself. One question.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon and welcome, sir. My name is Priscilla Winkle. And I'm an independent broadcaster here in London. And sir, you spoke about your point number 5, which is to...
This is the part they are going to ask him about electricity. Priscilla is going to ask him about electricity. But this time around, she was a bit broad with a question, right? Asking Obi about the economy around the darkness in Nigeria, okay? Where people have already made fortune by supplying a generator to Nigeria, and they've made fortune, and they are still making fortune because Nigeria is in darkness. Okay, so if you say you are going to give Nigerians a light, in this instance, right, we have been told that electricity, generator sellers in Nigeria are contributing to lack of power in Nigeria. His answer will likely kind of make you feel like he knows what he's talking about. And there's nothing about him, right? When he says something, at the same time, when he says something about what he knows, he kind of always says something about what he doesn't know by saying there's nothing wrong in learning, okay, from others who have done it. Now, Priscilla.
Power, because I'm sure that they too will rise up against it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. We did.
Against it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Economy that will then no longer. So my question here is this. How do you plan, number one, and I'm going to take a risk here, to deal with the big boys, and how do you also plan to address that economy that will then no longer exist because you have generated power? Because I'm sure that they too will rise up against it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. We did online have lots of questions about refining also. And so this is a key issue that people are asking question about. So the gentleman there, a bit further along. Yes, there, you, just there, yeah. Please go ahead, introduce yourself.
Thank you very much.
Question.
Good to see you, Peter. Paul Arkwright, I was the British High Commissioner to Nigeria from 2015 to 2018, and it's good to see you in London, sir. Thank you very much for your talk. I've now moved into private business. I'm a consultant, and I'm advising companies and funds, investors to look at Africa, to look at Nigeria, to consider investing there, and everyone agrees, I think, that FDI, foreign direct investment, is
just because of our time, I am going to skip this question. These questions, including this guy. Okay, maybe we should listen to this guy's question. Then I'm going to skip straight to the answer to save our time. Okay.
Which is extremely high. How do you plan to support the next generation?
The government is paying?
Repaying the central bank debt by 19.5% interest rate. How do you plan to support the next generation by dealing with the debt repayment crisis? And also, how do you plan to deal with tackling financial transparency in Nigeria? The central bank hasn't released its balance sheet in about 3 years.
Thank you. There you go, Peter. 3 questions.
Let me start with my sister there. He talked about the big. What you're saying is about the big boys who are selling generators. Let me assure you what we've been campaigning on. Our campaign, you have heard them say we don't have structures. That is the structure we're trying to destroy. Structure of criminality. That is what I mentioned. That Nigeria is being held captive. That structure is structure that have impoverished Nigeria. We will dismantle it. It will not be there. I assure you of that. We're going to turn around the power sector. Nigeria generates about, today, 56,000 megawatts of electricity for 200 million people. And South Africa, the second biggest in terms of economy in the continent, 5 to 6,000, that's 5 to 6,000, sorry. And South Africa, the second biggest economy, 60 million people, generates about 40 to 50,000. And South Africa, in the past 3 months, have declared emergency in power and said anybody can generate up to 100 megawatts without license. So somebody who is 60 million, generating about over 40,000, declared emergency. What do you think somebody with 2 million people generating 5 to 6,000 will do? War. I'm going to declare war on power, and I'll solve it. Anybody who stands on the way, so be it. Bringing back foreign investor is very simple, Paul.
I'm sorry if I actually laughed when you are listening, right? You know, somebody said that Buhari said more than this. But at the end of the day, we know better today. Listen. If you are taking almost everything Obi is saying to heart, you must be an obedient. Obedient take everything he says to heart. They scrutinize them, not like everything like that, but per se, right? But the thing here is this: whenever Obi is talking, right, what the obedience see in him is what they call the sincerity. Sure, you get, and it seems to be like something that people wanted to wait and find out. Sure, you get. So, in this instance, comparing Obi and Bokwari to the obedient is actually like insulting them. So my advice for you is this, okay? Listen to what you have to say, okay? Think about some of them that you think are really, really practicable, something that is real or possible. And then don't forget all he said when you listened. Because events that will happen from tomorrow and on, and these events like today, you would have to like resort back to it and say, oh, I remember when he said something about this. You know what I mean? Because the point here is this: if you think Obi is just playing, Baba, now you they play, just they play. I am not saying that I feel completely convinced that the obedient are going to rout the establishment. No. What I'm saying is that it will be very, very, very hypocritical rather, yeah, if anybody, even if you don't believe them, even if you don't believe anything that is going on, right, it will be very hypocritical of you to pretend that they are not existing, they are not formidable. That would be a lie. The establishment knows this. Whatever is going to then happen after is what you and I should always remember days like this and say, I remember, in fact, one thing that got me to start, you know what I mean? Somebody like myself who believe that live and let live. Government should not control my life. And I should have a say in the law that governs me. And in all of this, I can only actually test run all these ideas in a place that I am not treated like a criminal. In Nigeria, as they say, there is no one Nigeria. There are many Nigerias. That's the truth. So, in this instance, don't take everything to heart, except you are already turning to obedient. And I don't think there's anything wrong in that. Do you get that? No, I told you I can't answer that question. Mr. Taiwo is asking me why all this talk outside Nigeria. Baba, I can't answer for that. I have told all of you not to look into that. I said, listen to what they say, how they say them, and then have an idea of the characters that are likely going to decide or be part of those that will decide or determine what is going to happen in Nigeria in the next few weeks. Don't take side if you really want to enjoy it. Okay? Now, here is Obi in his own Obi's form today. Still answering questions, by the way.
That is at the heart of what Gatti and I are offering. We will build that intangible assets of securing the country, making sure that we govern through rule of law. We will fight corruption. Daddy have a record that is the only National Assembly member who refused to buy property of government when it was offered to all National Assembly members. You can go and look at his record. If you have seen anywhere he has compromised or put himself in a transactional position, And I'll stop running. I know how I approached him. And I told him, I and you owe it to save our people. That's why we came together. And we came back and said, we'll work as a team. We'll solve this problem. Go and check my record. I've governed the state for 8 years. And I've challenged everybody. Paul, you were there. I've been the only governor till today. The day I left office, I was not owing salary, pension, gratuity, or any contract or any supplier. And I left the 3 banks in Nigeria, which I say every day. Access Bank of Nigeria, Fidelity Bank of Nigeria, and Diamond Bank. I left over $150 million. I didn't say naira. And I have over 30 billion naira. And Anambra State, you can go and verify anyway. I've never had a bottle. Anambra State have never bought me. There's no land allocated directly or indirectly by me, and I signed over several thousands of CFO. Anambra has never bought me a bottle of water since I left office. So you can go. We will fight and stop corruption. The first thing about stopping corruption is yourself. If you're not involved, your wife is not involved, your family is not involved, those around you are not involved, you reduce it by over 50%. And that's what I'm going to do. And I'm sure, Paul, you know that. We are committed. We can't disappoint these youths. We must build a new Nigeria. And we'll deal with that. Investors will come back. Those who left, even the young people who are today living, they'll come back. We want to bring them back. Nigerians are prepared to come back if they can find that they have a country to go back to. This green passport, people must be proud to use it. On issue of capital, where do you find money? My young brother, there's nothing wrong in borrowing. Borrowing is a legitimate way of every government I've studied in the world borrow. Even Britain, as we speak, owns over 70% of their GDP. Every government I know lives on borrowing. Even Norway, with 1.4 trillion sovereign wealth, is owing. The economies of the world, the 3rd biggest nation in the world is America. The debt of America today is almost 100% of their GDP. The second, China, is almost owing over 60% of their GDP. Japan owes over 230% of their GDP. But let me tell you the difference. Japan is owing over 230% of their GDP. They invested the money to save their economy. And in that, even with that, Japan is still the highest holder of US treasuries. So there's something they can fall back on. What has happened? So borrowing is not wrong. If I have done, I compare 2 countries that borrowed with Nigeria and how well they've done. But what has happened is that when you borrow for consumption, you have a crisis. Nigeria borrowed for consumption. Nigeria in 2015 had a GDP per capita of $2,550. And they were owing about 15 trillion naira. Today, with central bank ways and means, we're owing over 75. So we have grown that debt by about 400%. But our per capita is 2,000. That means that the money we borrowed was thrown away. So that is what I'm going to reverse.
Yes. There is a different thing about him being able to do what he's talking about. But you know one thing? Let's take a little break from Obi. And then take a little detour back to when Kalu was in London. This time around, just listen to just watch the containers and the... Look at this guy, right? Did you see that he's more confident when he's talking and he's like not reading? This is him talking from what he believes he wrote down as his own plan B. For those of you following them all. But let's go and see Kalu. When Kalu was in that same position to answer questions about his plan and all of that, right? Let me go a bit forward, right? Where they ask him question, okay? Hang on. Give me one moment, okay? I am going to yeah, I think we should start from okay, somebody is answering question for him here. So let's go to when El Rufaya finished, right? Hang on. That should be somewhere here. Now, listen, even though it's a little bit, okay, let me put it forward a bit. Right, listen to this. This is Kolu in the same position, the same place where the, on your mandate, on your pampas and the rest of them were the audience, right? Now, this is a detour, okay, to what you just finished watching just now. One moment, just a listen for about 2 minutes, just comparison.
Question on education and youth, of which I have, we've got about 30 questions on this that have come in, including from Mariam Haruna. So, Mr. Tanumba, maybe you'd like to answer that question.
I would love to do so.
Yeah.
Youths are part of today, but they are the greatest asset for tomorrow. We need to prepare them from now, from our all-inclusive government. The youth has been part of that. I want the governor of Lagos State to stand up. Yes, it's a youth. It's driving the 5th largest economy in Africa today, and the transformative government of our legacy, my own personal legacy. Yes, the education system is to change. We overhaul it.
This is the time you have to listen to accent. Oh. This is where Kolu started using accent. Overhaul. You know, this and all of that, yeah? Just empty. As empty. But I don't see Tifnumbu as a president. If you make him your president next month, that's your business. So me, I'm still very okay where I am. Oh. Seriously, I'm fine. Okay. I'm just gonna have to like brace up for whatever is going to happen to my family members and the rest of them in that Tifnumbu's Nigeria. But I kind of like the fact that when I look at him, he kind of paint this picture of my great-grandpa or grandpa. Somebody that was like, you know, somebody that will be talking about during his own prime. You know, when you're like, daddy, you know what? You know, I said, come on, shut up. When we were younger like you, I used to be in the UK, you know, that kind of stuff. And you just sit down there and laugh. I say, oh boy, grandpa is so funny. That's exactly what Kolu looks to me all the time. I'm not mocking him. It's just like, you know, if you have had any grandpa before, old, senile, losing their memories and mind. But they are so interesting to sit around and then listen to stories. And you're going to listen to them as they are like mixing the whole thing up. Because their mind will keep playing trick on them, but Kolu's using accents. But that one was new. I'm just saying, you know, I'm not mocking him, but Shane a lie. Listen to accents. You go fear accents.
Tinker with some areas that with the philosophy that no one will be left behind. There be student loan for all the students. We are going to reform the Almajiri system. We are equally going to build additional schools and recruit more teachers and train them well. And teach them the opportunity to govern. Give them that opportunity. Broadband, technology hubs, and so on and so forth, will be established that youth can even develop technology languages on their own. and make a better 21st century approach to governance in Nigeria.
Okay, we're having another round of questions. So I start with the lady there. You, yes. Please tell us who you are and keep your... No, it's the lady behind you. I'm so sorry.
Wala, wala, wala. Just like Portable will say. Okay, you see that person that was that was going to ask that question, by the way, yeah? She's asking question on behalf of the diasporans, voting and the rest of that. And Kolu answered that by himself. But I'll come back to that. We're actually showcasing and then highlighting Peter Obi's outing today, where we can always have his words on record. You just don't know what will happen. Somebody said that, so what you are saying is that if the whole Nigeria, Baba, see, look at me very well, Mayegun, and this platform, okay? I am not in any way concerned about what happened in your election, because I personally, right, knows that it is a rigged system, okay? The only surprise or shocker that could happen is when indeed the obedient and pushed and they say Obi is leading in your election. That would be a shocker for somebody like me. We believe that the establishment won't go down without a fight, but we just don't know if they have the capacity to fight. We don't know anything. But on this platform, I just want to table everything so plain. In all their utterances and what they are promising and saying, not because I believe them, but it is ideal to have them on record. So that whatever happens, I can go back and say, remember that time I said, you remember what they said, or you forgot? Then the implosion of Nigeria that they have been working around all their lives, right? By making it perfect is by disappointing on anything they say. Bokwari is making Nigeria divided today because he failed on his promises, right? He couldn't unite Nigeria. You know that, Abi? And that means Nigeria is more divided than what you have ever witnessed in your life. Courtesy of APC, Egbekegbe, on Mayegun's Diary Political. What I do is to make people understand why Nigeria is not working, and it will never work. The actions of your leaders and your politicians are those that give credence to what I say all the time. Just remember that I have no dog in this fight. I am so happy that I am not sitting down here and somehow using PDP as the karma for APC. It would have been so disastrous. Now we can say they have Labour, they have Obi, they have this movement and that are ready to kill and end APC, PDP. Baba, I have to let people see and know how all of that happened, if it eventually happens. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. So yeah, let's leave Kolu for a while. And let's go back to Obi answering questions. You know, I told you, this is like they will ask him, he will answer. He doesn't have to read, and he doesn't have to delegate. If you are building expectation on what you are going to hear or what you are hearing from Obi, that's not my fault. Okay? I have warned you. I don't listen to them with the expectation that they will do what they will do. But my own expectation is to see if there will be a breaking news that indeed in my life, whatever happened, however it happened, I don't give a damn. PDP, APC, and their establishment collapse in my lifetime. It simply means like they do in debt. For those who knows how they manage debt here in the UK, okay? There's something called debt consolidation, right? PDP, APC have confused this for so long that you didn't even know who is who, Abi. Whatever then happened, right? If you have to witness a time that a Labour Party or Obi and Obedient are now going to bury the two of them, maybe they are now going to suck people from them into their government or whatever happens, right? It is called buying the debt, consolidation of debt. Now you can easily just focus in one place and say, well, yeah, the battle is just here now, not around here and scattered here, where divide and rule is the order of the day. You know the divide and rule, right? I'm sorry if comprehension is going to be a problem. But yeah, let's go back to where Obi is being grilled to answer questions directly, not read, not delegated, all by himself. Again, please study his countenance. Please do. I'm not asking you to believe what he has to say, except if you are unobedient. If you are unobedient, or you suddenly become unobedient, that's not my fault. You know what I figured out? I came here and said, I personally don't have any voters card to participate in your election. And personally, I believe that election boycott is also part of an electoral process. Okay? So if you decide to stay away from their election, you don't want to participate, you don't want to validate it, it is your right. There's nothing wrong in that. Do you understand? Right? Then, if your own choice is to stay away, in this case, yeah, like I said, it's your right. Stay away. It is also part of electoral process. But at the same time, when you stay away, you are not spared from the consequences of whatever happens. Nobody is spared. I didn't support Bokwari. I didn't vote for him. I didn't, you know what I mean? A lot of you didn't. But you are the victims of the consequences of those who made him one, Abi. But if you are going to die, isn't it better to have an idea of what is coming to kill you? Who sold you that Kool-Aid? Who sold you that poison? And who made you understand what this each container contained? Abi, I'm not asking you to believe them all, but just listen attentively and then maybe make something out of it. Let's go back to London.
Say, like I
Yeah,
said
Obi
here,
was.
no more borrowing for consumption.
Yeah.
You see borrow, people will see it, it will be transparent, it will be for investment. And that's what we intend to do. Countries have been in this situation before. We're not in a situation where other countries haven't passed before. It's a question of showing leadership, and we will be able to solve it. Thank you.
I'm coming back. We are now almost around 60,000 people just watching us and sending in questions. So we're trying to be inclusive. We have a question from Debo Ademoyo, who is asking, what are your policy ideas on climate change? Do you have a plan for ensuring sustainability in a new government? So that's one question.
Presidency from when elected president. There is no doubt in my mind that Your Excellency is well aware.
Okay, please. We need, the longer this takes, the less questions. Madam, please, yes. Now.
So the question there is, how do you intend to implement a pragmatic mechanism for dealing with those societal concerns for equal access to the services, inclusive participation, and integrating the various ethnic groups?
Thank you very much. Thank you. Peter, if you answer those questions, because that was more than one question.
Well, let me start with the issue of, you have, like you said, you have more than one question. I have about 2 questions. Let me start with the issue of ethnic tension. The ethnic tension you see today is based and as a result of injustice, unfairness, exclusion, marginalization. As soon as you start reversing that, they start going down. That is what I said to young man about agitation. As long as you start doing the right things, as long as you start building an inclusive society where people's talent, hard work will match up their opportunity, you start seeing those things go down. There's tension, even in the Western world here. I live here when the blacks feel excluded. But as the more the government opens up and tolerates and builds an inclusive, transparent, more broad-based, acceptable, they will come down. And we will show, I've said before, we will show compassion. We will show love. Because there's nothing, you're a leader. Don't go away when Bayelsa is under the water. Don't leave Jigawa to die. Don't say, oh, I cannot go to Southern Kaduna because there's a problem. We will show compassion. We will lead from the front. We're not going to walk away. And for me, Borno is part of Nigeria. I don't want to say people, oh, the region is insecure. Nigeria is insecure. Like I told the IDP people in Christmas, I spent my IDP with IDP people in Makurdi in Christmas. And the New Year was another IDP camp in Abuja. And I said to them, as long as Nigerians are in IDP, all of us are in IDP. I will not allow, and I know that you will not allow it, for any Nigerian to remain in IDP while we're sleeping in our mansions. Never. They must go back. On issue of challenges and dealing with them, the challenges you foresee, I've dealt with such challenges at the Anambra level. And I'll show you the same challenges. We're not going to, as long as you're not involved in this transnational governance, you can deal with anybody. And we're not going to compromise. We have an issue, I said, we're at an existential threat that we don't need to. There's nobody, there's no sacred cow. You either be a Nigerian or you can find another country. We have a country with the rule of law. It will be the same level playing field for everybody. I want to solve the problem. For example, I said it without equivocation. I must pull out the poverty that is devastating the north. The vast land in the north is far more in terms of assets and source of revenue generation and exports for Nigeria than the oil. It's very simple. And I give you an example of one state that I use every day. Niger State is 76,000 square kilometers. Precisely 76.3 thousand square kilometers of land. 7 local governments in that state is under control of bandits. I've tried to interview them because they have no job. They have nothing and everything. Niger State is 2.5 times the size of Netherlands. And Netherlands agricultural export last year was $120 billion. Why can't Niger State do 5% of that? They have arable land. And all they get from the revenue, from the sharing, which is the consumption, is less than 50 billion naira. When they have minus their debts and everything. If they earn 6% of 5% of that, it's $6 billion. At 650, it's about 4 trillion, 80 times what they get from here. We will change it. Somebody talked about tackling insecurity. I've said it extensively. It is our first commitment to first secure Nigeria. Securing Nigeria is not impossible. I secured Anambra State as governor. And it won't be different. I've said we will deal and talk with those we will win, we'll talk with those who are winnable. It will be carrot and stick. And those who don't, we will deal with them. We're not going to shy away. Nigeria must be secured. It's a country. Every country must be secured. But we're not going to walk away from the problem. We'll deal with it. We have our armies and military used to secure Africa. So this is time to go back and resonate that spirit in which they used to secure Africa to secure Nigeria. And we will deal with it. On climate change, I've always said we'll follow the protocol. And I did mention here about
So sorry. Yeah, I'm so sorry. I got the sound back, by the way. Very sorry about that. Again, sometimes the sound gets put away just to make sure that there is no interference in the broadcast. Whatever he was saying, I'm so sorry. Again, I apologize. I should have taken that or checked that out before I get fully into what I was saying. But I will repeat myself, okay? I apologize once again for that. So, what I was saying then was that, listen, a lot of us have mentally, psychologically disengaged from Nigeria. We have disengaged from the lies. We have disengaged from the deceit. And some of us who have disengaged have expressed our what do you call it, our displeasure with what Nigeria represents. And we are not just complaining, we have chosen side. And it all comes from the long time experience of politicians saying one thing and doing another thing. Okay? None of us really want to try and believe them anymore. But nevertheless, as we are trying to gather together to free ourselves from their shackle of lies, so far so good, or so bad or good, we are still very much bearing the consequences of what they are still doing until we gain the momentum, indeed, to free ourselves from them. Obi acknowledged this in one of his, in this particular presentation. He said, a lot of Nigerians have disengaged from Nigeria. They don't want to have anything to do with Nigeria anymore. And that is why the campaign, the agitation, and then the awareness for self-determination continue to gain so much momentum, especially from abroad. And rightly so. What is it in Nigeria to actually believe in? So according to him, once the right thing is being done, once injustice is being done, inclusiveness is being done, and obviously making sure that no Nigerian is more Nigerian than the other, he said he believes that a lot of us will begin to start reconsidering our position. But you know something, right? Look at my face very well, okay? I personally believe that through a peaceful means, right? Hang on. Did somebody say no sound? No, I have fixed the sound. I think I have fixed the sound. The sound is working right now. And if yours is not, please, if you're watching on YouTube, just check it and move it forward so that it will be up to date with where I am, okay? Yeah, thank you. And I'm so sorry for that interruption, by the way. So I, Mayegun General, I have come to light that no matter what or any arrangement put together in Nigeria, right, it is just like a kicking the can down the road, okay? Momentary peace or momentary sort of relaxation or what have you, all of these are never going to solve Nigeria problem. The fundamental problem of Nigeria is the incompatibility of those they have locked together in a country. So how do you solve that once and for all? Is by letting those who identified as one people to go together and administer themselves, govern themselves. So I understand that so many of you obedient. There's so much going around. For so many of you who have given up on Nigeria to begin to hope again. I understand. What I am doing mostly is to make sure that for those of you who want to take those last shots, isn't it ideal to have a very clearer idea of what you are venturing into? I just don't have any moment or any part of my life anymore to gamble on anything Nigeria. I know I'm not spared. Whether I support anything or I don't support anything in Nigeria, as long as Nigeria exists, I am not spared from the consequences of what happened there. But do you know something, right? I am also, right, banking on the experiences of many of you from whatever thing you are engaging yourself in. I am not interested. But I am banking on the experiences that many of you are going to gain. You have every right to hope to fix this. And I also believe that if the current establishment put together since 1966 collapse, that could even be a beginning of healing for what we have turned to a murderous jungle called Nigeria today because of these politicians. I believe under the atmosphere of peace, the conversation around referendum and then autonomy, independence, they can be had in under the atmosphere of peace. I believe that. But from my own experience, I don't believe anybody that is working to save Nigeria, to fix Nigeria problem. I don't believe in them. But if in my lifetime I'm going to witness an hegemony, an establishment put together to mitigate against my development, my growth, and my success, because I share affinity as a Nigerian, if I'm going to witness the collapse of that and the birth of a new one, then maybe that will be the part of the story I'm going to tell my children. Because somehow, even though I have no stake, I have no influence in all of this, but we can tell, with or without our influence, this is happening. Now, if the old order would die before our very eyes, and a new order is going to come to be, maybe in the new order lies the liberty and the freedom that we are all yearning for. We can't get any freedom. We can't get any independence. We can't get any liberty if the system is haunting us as terrorists when we are not. We can do so under the atmosphere of peace. And you know I'm saying this because I'm Mayegun. I will prefer it in a peaceful way. It doesn't mean that it's going to be peaceful. But what is wrong in wishing it for being peaceful? When you share the right information and the people are taking the right side in order to be on the right side of the history. This is my own part. And in this case, as obedient are traumatizing the establishment, personally, I'm wishing you success. It's not because I believe you are going to fix Nigeria, but through you, the revolution that will eventually free the rest of all those nations trapped in Nigeria may start. I'm not banking on it. But what do I have to lose? Do I have anything to lose? If the obedient pull the stunt, do you have anything to lose more than what we have lost? If the old order retain their old control? But at the end of the day, it seems that we are all going to learn a lesson. And there's something I wanted to add earlier. No matter where you and I belong to, don't believe that anybody's undecided about Nigeria today. Oh. Listen to me. There is nobody that is undecided about what's going on in Nigeria today. If anyone says they are undecided, they are lying to you. They have decided. Everybody is just waiting for the outcome of the whole thing. I am only playing my part to prepare you for the aftermath. Now, let's go back to London again. I have Eva, thank you very much for this. And I'm going to also say a big thank you as well to this, my person, Tonia. I appreciate this, and I hope that my position is not to discourage any of the young people pushing this. I know the genesis of the obedient movement. I know the genesis. I know the reach. I know everything behind it. How they finally managed to turn it into a political whatever today, and the beneficiary of all of that is obedient. Obi himself. We know the story. But as they say, if dog have to eat dog, for us to be free in a way, what is wrong in that? Let's go back to London, where Obi was answering questions. We're almost done. Oh. Remember, we are highlighting what he had to say and what he said when he's in London, just like Kolu was also in London. I will replay part of that too. Let's go back to London.
Come dredge, maintain River Nile. Nigeria is big enough to deal with this, and we'll deal with it. And I assure you, you see the difference. It will be clear. Other protocols of climate change will follow it. Where we find difficult, we'll negotiate and talk with other involved in that. We are signatory to it, and it's devastating the world today. So we must follow the protocol.
Thank you. The clock is ticking. We're on borrowed time now, but we are going over, as I said. So there's right at the front here, there's a gentleman there. I'm going to take 3 questions, and then I think the clock is going to have had its say. Short and sharp, please.
I'll
go ahead.
Keep it short. Hi, good afternoon. My name's Alexis Akwajiram. I'm the managing editor of Semaphore Africa. My question is, if you become the next president, would you seek to keep the current central bank governor or replace him? And please explain your answer.
So, the gentleman in the middle there. Yeah. Please. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, and thank you for your remarks. My name is Chibuikem Ugongadi. I'm his master's student at King's College London, and it's funny, actually, my question is related to him. Given the debacle at the central bank currently and their conduct over the past 8 years, what is your view on central bank independence as a tool to improve economic growth? And how will you what will you do about the leadership at the central bank when you become president in order to make sure that their principles are in line with yours on monetary policy?
Thank you very much. The lady over there. Yes, madam, you. Yes, but sharp, please. There's a microphone just here. It's next to you, just there, please. Aha.
Okay, Your Excellency, good afternoon. So my question here is this: you talked about restructuring. As you're aware, Nigeria can barely service its external debt. Nigeria can barely service its external debt. Our current external debt, we cannot service it, or we're finding it difficult to service it. Now, when you become president, how do you intend to restructure our external debt without actually downgrading our rating in the market? Thank you.
Thank you. And your name, just so
My
we have
name
it?
is Ifeyinwa Umunakwe.
Okay, thank you. And then if we move the microphone to the lady just there, last question. Yes.
Good afternoon. Nice to see you again, Mr. Obi. My name is Kenneth Chukwuwabo. I'm a PhD candidate at the University of Cambridge. I study public-private partnerships in education. I read your manifesto, and it seems PPPs are taking a central stage in education sector. So I wanted to ask, what is your rationale for involving private actors in public education, and what governance structures would you put in place to ensure the accountability of these actors in a sensitive sector such as education? Thank you.
Thank you very much. My apologies. We've run out of time now. I'm watching the clock.
Okay. Alex, I hope you will allow me that somebody here that is so keen, when I was coming in, he had a question that is so interested and is like, so I told him, if I have opportunity, I will request and answer it publicly. Okay. Let me again go, people are talking about the central bank governor. The problem, first, let me assure you, central bank will maintain its independence. It will be respected. And again, it is not the problem of the person there. Central bank have a role of monetary policy, if I'm right. Then you have this physical space. It's like a street football. When the person who is supposed to be in the physical space is no longer, it's like you go to a football match and somebody who is supposed to play in a particular wing is no longer there. You find people playing various wings. The weakness of the physical space allows the monetary space to take over, and in supporting, because there's a weak governance structure, that is why we're able to do what we're doing. What is happening today is happening. So if you're replacing Godwin and putting somebody with that level of fiscal rascality, which is what is fueling our inflation and even our rate of exchange today, these are some of the things you need to cut. As long as the government continues on that fiscal rascality, that situation will occur. That's what you need to fix. I won't say what will happen. His term is actually coming to an end. So it won't be too long. So that's that. I assure you that we'll deal with that. You asked about PPP in education. I said you're in Cambridge. Is Cambridge run by British government? No, I just want to know, because I don't know. When we're talking about PPP in education, we're talking about tertiary education. We're not talking about basic education. We will ensure that basic education is free, and we will drive it aggressive, because we have 20 million out of school children in the north, which I've said we will deal with decisively, because those children mostly have learned Quran, which means they're intelligent. We'll meet them at the point of learning Quran and teach them skill. For the tertiary education, we must find a way to fund it in a collaborative way, public partnership, in order to be able to ensure that 4 years will be 4 years, not what is happening today. That's what we mean by that. And it will be, you'll see, it's a win-win situation. That's it. No, not the basic. It won't be the basic. Then, issue of barely servicing our debts. We're not, I've said it before, we're not the only country that have gone through this. Once we move from consumption to production, what we're going to do first is that what you see today, we're inability to service our debts, is because of fiscal rascality. You're paying unsustainable subsidy, which will be stopped from day one, because it's criminal thing. You're no longer generating money because they're stealing with oil. And the only people who can steal oil are people in government, because ordinary people cannot steal oil.
That's
right.
right.
Put it in your pocket.
True.
It's something that you come with sheep. So all those, and you stop corruption, the waste, everything. And you go to seek to ensure that the revenues of government are properly collected. These are things, when you have tightened all the leakages and wastes, you'll be able to increase your position and you negotiate and be able to service them. Look at it, just to give you an example. Nigeria is today the only OPEC nation, apart from Venezuela, because of sanction, that is not meeting up its quota. Because over the years of oil theft, the multinationals and everything have not been investing, coupled with the theft and everything. You're not realizing what you're supposed to. Every other nation that is in the same condition was able to bring down their rates and inflation within this period of Ukraine war. I'm not saying it's good to wait for war to be able to get more revenue, but people are taking advantage of it.
You love it at least.
You know,
yeah.
because it's there.
I know.
And you can't run away from it. But we couldn't take that advantage. Our situation got worse because of poor management,
being diplomatic,
of our own physical space, which will change without an eye. And finally, like I said, somebody kept telling me that issue that people have been saying that if I become president,
just hang on, Obi. There's something they want to say to close his presentation and all of that happened, okay? But it is so funny. Let's be honest, too. Let's be honest, too. This is not like your bigoted mind talking, okay? Listen, let's be honest. I have been reading the Lagos Sabo Bakus. I've been reading their comments. Oshogbo Alimajiris, the Buhari Dins, the Buhari Diderins, the Buhari Dinotus, the Buhari Dijatus, the Buhari Shukus, the Ungo Ziaris, the Une Kaharis, the obedient fools, the sophisticated morons, the humbled slaves, including some of their uncles and aunties abroad, the Abrodian Cybarbarians, the Mumumadus, the Bele lecturers, the Mumu lecturers. They are also watching and they are calling Obi dumb. Baba Shayen Shieni. Let's serious now. Let's remove all of this whole thing. See, even if you know that he's not going anywhere, he's never going to defeat Kolu and Baba, you know, day your mouth now to say somebody no sharp. You are supporting Kolu, you are supporting Tifnumbu. Come on, man. After all you watched, Abi, whether he go defeat her, he no go defeat her, whether he go beat her, he no go beat her, leave that story. Baba, she won't shake with any. How can you say Kolu is better than that person? Show Yahweh ni. Question him on period. I'm not saying you to Yahweh, even though to Yahweh. Just get serious now. Come on. Kolu is a Yoruba man. If you want to support Kolu, support him. If you want to support Atiku, do that with your chest. But I know they come here, they tell us, say somebody dull. You just talk, say that guy dull. You just support Kolu, you just talk, say somebody dull. Shon shieni. Oh, they get serious now. Pelu life, eh? Eh? Get serious now, my guy. Eh? Chicken log play Kolu fun again. You want to listen to him? Somebody where they speak the language of the gods. Somebody that you have to get an interpreter to interpret what he is saying. You can't hold your phone, they talk to somebody dull. Which level now? Let me go back to Kolu. Just for the sake of our listeners. Imagine somebody with a supportive nobody talks to somebody dull. Eh? Possible now. Just get serious this time around. You won't bring Bokwari or anybody. But even if the guy, they sweet talk you. Now, person will get sense, they sweet talk people now. Call you no get any sense. He don't leave. You can't come here, they try tell us, say, Baba, show mad, ni. Get serious, George, Baba, get serious, eh? Get serious, pelu life, eh? Just get serious, alaye. This same call Lutawa more.
Related to Nigeria from worldwide every year. And I do appreciate that the leaders, they do come every electoral cycle to speak to us in diaspora, but we can't vote. Is there any plans you have, sir, with regards to diaspora voting?
Thank you so much. Good question. So the lady just here, you, madam, yes. Please go ahead. Yes, this lady. Yeah.
Hello. Louise Doas from AFP News Agency. I cover Nigeria. I'm based in Abuja. Yeah. I have two quick questions.
No, one, please.
One? Okay. Yeah. Okay, well, my question is, what exact steps will you take in your first year in administration to reduce unemployment rate, and in which sectors will you create jobs?
Okay, so that's the second question on reducing employment. And the gentleman just there, we will be coming back another round. Yes, you, sir. Go ahead.
Excellency, John Cookson, Arise News. You spent a long time today talking about the problems that Nigeria has, but you've been an integral part of the government for the last 2 terms. Why should people vote for you? Why are you a fit and proper person to be president?
Thank you very much. So the question was, you've served 2 terms in this government. So why should you be now elected as president? You've done your time in government. And then we have the question on remittances stroke, how can the diaspora vote? And then the question from Agence France Presse on how you're going to get employment up, how you're going to get economic growth. Those are the 3 questions.
Well, the same method. We call on Wale Edun to answer the
first question, is it?
Yes, first question.
Why diaspora can't vote? Can we have a microphone, please, coming here?
That's really, with the greatest respect to the person who asked that question, that's a question for the gentleman who's coming to you in January, the chairman of INEC. I don't think it's for him to answer.
Okay, well, that's the answer then. Good.
But definitely he doesn't have an objection.
No, but
let's just have, it's a constitutional matter. But please, let's let Mr. Tunumbu, he's the main speaker.
I think it was Herufai last night that mentioned that diaspora voters are entitled to voting. If you make contribution to the economy with remittances that you have been making, your right to vote should not be abrogated, but promoted. However, we are still building confidence in our democratic and voting system. INEC is still yet to assure us during this election that electronic transmission the technology being used for accreditation and the total vote count is reliable, dependable, and assuring in our democratic process before we introduce a complicated element of mailing ballots and so on.
So, please. So my message is this conversation will be continued on 17th of January. We have Professor Yakubu here from INEC. Please come back and have
and
a
ask your
discussion.
question. Kalu no get answer.
Second question, the one on.
So who's going to answer the second question for him?
Reducing unemployment.
Somebody else.
Please,
Show why
the microphone is just there for you.
Show why mini. This one happened just about 6 weeks ago. 6 weeks ago. You come on Mayegun's diary political because they talk about somebody we no smart, we no get intelligent. Show why.
Economic growth. He talked about getting at least 7% growth because that in 10 years will help to double GDP growth. And the key to his policy for increasing economic growth, achieving rapid growth, is to enable the private sector to make the investments that will increase productivity, grow the economy, create the jobs, and reduce poverty. That's the trajectory. And in particular, he's going to implement both, as he mentioned, the monetary and fiscal policies that will free up the space for private investment, particularly in infrastructure, and also through the promotion of agro-allied industrial processing zones. It is in agriculture in particular where the jobs will be created that will enable not just growth, but inclusive growth that provides enough employment opportunities that will lead to reduction of poverty. So the Tinubu administration is essentially all about private sector-driven economic growth. And foreign direct investment will also be a key element of that process. That's the objective of the administration, and that's what they intend to achieve through the economic policy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And there was the third question from Arise News on that you've served 2 terms, Mr. Tunumbu, already. And why should you be president?
Grandpa
is the question that was asked.
I guess my name is Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
They will answer
and
this.
The current president is Muhammadu Buhari.
Remember when I told you that every time Kalu need to speak for himself and say, I am different. I know that APC, Egbekegbe have destroyed Nigeria. Boko Haram has destroyed Nigeria. But I am Tifnumbu. I am different. His name is Muhammadu Buhari. He is finding it so hard to separate himself from the failure of Boko Haram. Because they call the beat your chest like a dwarf. A dwarf, a chimpanzee. When they say, you go see, we go show you when Kalu win. I ain't here. This one, no. Listen to him again, no. It is he wants to defend himself and separate himself from APC, Egbekegbe, led by Boko Haram. I mean, come on. Listen.
And there's nowhere in the Constitution that says, a current administration cannot be a continuity in their own ways. It doesn't remove me from adaptation to my own economic philosophy and developmental program. I did it in Lagos. I converted the greatest liability, threatening the environment.
Oh dear, I don't want to miss this. I am so sorry. I am so sorry. Did you hear the accent? I convicted, but he actually said nonsense. Do you want to listen to it word for word? He was talking nonsense. But he used the accent, and the Agberus miseducated illiterates and educated illiterates in Nigeria and all over the world. They were like, oh my God, the man that fought the sea and he won. His name is Kolu.
I converted the greatest liability threatening the environment and Lagos existence to asset of magnitude value.
Now nonsense the way they talk there. Magnitude, just something like when he said town hall is different from Bala Blue, Bulaba. Demented old man that some jobless criminals are intending to use in their own way of accessing your own public resources. This Kolu, but listen to him, he's still talking.
Whether you are from Lagos or not, I've encouraged private investment in Lagos more than any other part of the country. In fact, beating the federal government and, before we took over the reign of the regime. Vision, courage, and can-do attitude of an individual is self-given. And I believe I've earned that throughout the country.
So this may well be the last round of questions because the clock may.
Just like I said, talking about those who said that Peter Obi, I mean, you can say that. Everyone, all of you can say Peter Obi is this or that, but I don't want anybody from Agbado or Mekano. You go listen to Bulaba, Bala Blue. And then you come around talking about intelligence and answer. Let this guy wrap up so that myself go wrap up. From his final presentation in London today, this is the final part, I believe.
Now there's issue of being, how do I say that? What word do they use? Stingy. Pat knew the question of stingy. How are you going to manage? Because they said you'll be stingy and everything. And let me say it publicly that people don't know what it is all about. At the heart of poverty is capital formation. And you can't go about capital formation without savings. Even in the most developed world, which is why I said that Japan holds highest amount of US treasury. If you listen or you go and read about what Professor Ragnar Nask done in the 50s, he showed it clearly. Capital formation is the heart of poverty. Without capital formation, you have low productivity, low income, and you produce poverty all over the place. What I was doing as governor, I was the best governor in Millennium Development Goals by the UNDP. You can go and check that. It's there. I won a prize for the best road network. I won the Gay Prize back to back on health. You can go and see what I did in health. Build scratch, teaching hospitals and everything. Improved #1 in education. And above all, I was able to save because I believe in future generation. If you look at that savings, I said future generation funding because we want to have proper capital formation to drive tomorrow. If I have opportunity in Nigeria, no matter what we do, we'll do the same thing. We must save for tomorrow. because that's how you form capital to turn around tomorrow. So as the end, I appeal to all of you. There's nothing more powerful than an idea whose time have come. Victor Hugo. The time today is to have competent leadership with character, commitment, and compassion. And that's what Nigeria is yearning for. That's what Dati and I are offering you. Let's have opportunity to build a better Nigeria. Thank you.
So that was him in London. And the highlight of this conversation is all he said there. And that's what I shared with you tonight. I am not responsible for any choice you make, okay? And in my own word, boycotting an election is also part of election, okay? He has managed to drive mass registration of voters all over Nigeria. You can't deny that. What happened in the election afterward, even if we don't have any influence in that, whatever happens after their election, if they owed their election, by the way, we are all going to share part of it. I hope you know. So my presentation tonight is just to give you the insight into what happened in London, and at the same time to show to you that Nigeria is at that crossroad. Whatever happens in their charade election, if they have it, the consequences or the aftermath of that, I would advise that you should get yourselves prepared based on the information you have or you know, leading to the whole charade, unexpected explosion. I have said my own part too. Now here is my own verdict on the whole thing. I am Mayegun, the general overseer of the Temple of Truth. I have presented my own unbiased. Okay, maybe it's biased. Okay, don't let us lie. Okay, if we are dealing in truth, let us be truthful, 100%. I have a bias, which I have no any regret about. I have a bias against anything that has to do with the establishment in Nigeria, starting with APC, PDP, and the entire structure of the establishment of Nigeria that are put together, functioning only to suppress you, oppress you, and keep you in check. If you fail to obey the directive and all of that the system wants to shape you into, you are likely going to get killed. So in my lifetime, right, I actually want to see this whole hegemony collapse, even though I don't think I have so much influence to make that happen. I have a bias towards them, and I have no regret about that. If you come on to Mayegun's Diary Politico, after 8 years of APC and the record of their murderous time in charge of Nigeria, if you come here, they ask me for fear, equal just I mean, you show to if you are supporting anything that has to do with APC, and you come on my platform or Mayegun's Diary Politico asking for equality, Mayegun, I just want you to be equal to anybody. I mean, you show we have seen the damages, we have seen the division, we have seen the corruption, we have seen the poverty, we have seen the terrorism. Olori Brukwe can jump on any social media and start talking about equality with APC. Oh, Nigeria. I mean, I have biases towards PDP and APC. These are the people who had the chance of building a virile country, united country, by actually doing the right thing. They didn't. What they didn't do has now catch up with everybody. Look at the whole place. There will be no peace for Nigeria. Trust me. Whether Nakolu or Obi, there will never be any peace for Nigeria. There is a way. There is a way that those who are going to be saddled with your country are going to undo what they have brought upon you that will determine how long is it going to take before the entire implosion of Nigeria. You have no say to it other than just to help them self-destruct. They have already pressed the self-destructor button. And that is why on my platform, now me, I'm not talking about everybody. There are many members of this temple of truth that they don't like the obedience. They don't like Obi at all. And I don't speak for them. And they don't speak for me too. But me, Mayegun General, the obedient are the very good sort of a platform that can help keep tormenting the people that believe that they have conquered all of us. Okay? If you say anything, they will kill you. If you say something, they will jail you, exile you, even kidnap you from everywhere. The system that ensures of that is not a system that is going to actually last. It is expanding. It is stretching. It will implode. And you're going to help them. So obedience, tonight is your night. You've been laughing. You've been smiling. My ego sounded so good to you. Some of you even call me a coward who should always speak for fighting for Nigeria. I have told you that I like what you are doing. Does not make me one of you. Because, listen to me, in your world, you are fighting for your survival. As Nigerians, Abi, you are fighting for your future. This thing that the establishments have done to you, you can no longer take it. You must secure your future. And Obi is the pipeline. I mean, it's actually the way to get that done. No problem. Okay? In 2015, there were some set of Nigerians who believed then that Kolu, Bokwari, Pastor Ruga, and including this Isaleko Barack Obama. I'm talking about what do you call it? What did they call that place? Oluwole Albert Einstein, Fashola, the Minister of Darkness, potholes, and homelessness in Nigeria. Right? At the time, they were among those who were inspiring you, telling you that a repentant terrorist, Bokwari, the man that first in history of Nigeria truncated the democratically elected government in Nigeria because according to him, he is coming to fight corruption, destroyed and ruined Nigeria, only to be rewarded of the presidency of Nigeria 30 years later because of some greedy, selfish criminals who saw him as their own as their own only way into ascending or accessing power in Nigeria. And guess who have been paying the price of that? All of you. Nigeria has become the poverty capital of the world. In 7 years, Nigeria has become the second most terrorized people in the whole world after Syria. In 7 years. And today, they are now asking you to choose between your life and your land. Do you understand that? So to me, whatever you are witnessing today, as a solution to fixing Nigeria, I am not involved. But I understand how you arrive at that. So when we choose and say, okay, what do you think is going to be the way out? When Nigeria becomes, or let me say, maybe through you, the obedient, if Nigeria should become a democratic place where asking for self-determination is no longer a crime, and it's never a crime, by the way, except for the jihadists who want to keep Nigeria together, good for nothing, not for you, not for anybody, just for themselves. Right? Maybe through you, we can begin to have a proper conversation around referendum is not war. As you are wishing to save Nigeria, the rest of us are wishing to save our own generations coming. And we don't see Nigeria giving us that. Do you understand? So it is not a crime to ask for self-determination. But yeah, you can continue to pretend. But don't ever come to my platform and believe that I am going to be just to PDP and APC. Seriously, see, I lie. I use everything where I get to assure you that the day that I'm going to see them sort of disappear or buried, including Nigeria, it's actually going to be one of the days I'm looking forward to. You may lie to yourself and the rest of that. And I feel personally like the obedient in their part, let their revolution continue. Destroy the entire system. Collapse it. And let's see what is built from the rumble of that. But if they fail, I am also trying to ask them, if they fail by being defeated by the system, not by being rigged or muzzled out by the system, What are they going to do if they are muscled out? Sure, you get now everybody could get a cut from this. And that's my own part too. And I hope the rest of you who actually have a say in what is going to happen, play your role. I'll keep the record in the diary. But before I go, there is something very shocking. Even though our time has so far spent, but it is still ideal for you to know. How many of you know that Akeredolu is sick? How many of you? Yes, Ondo State Governor is sick. Majority of them are sick. And with the public office and public money, they can get themselves and buy themselves the best health care money can buy in any part of the world. Ondo State government is very sick. But surprisingly, we are getting to know that from the anger and rage of Akeredolu's wife. You know they call Akeredolu Arakunrin. His wife is called Arabinrin. I just didn't know that Akeredolu's side chick could make Akeredolu's Arabinrin the wife to make a public audio. Mama Arabinrin kilode conjugal wahala. And that's how I got to know that Akeredolu is sick. They use their pastor, the woli, the babalawo, the mamalawo, the auntilawo, unculawo, brotherlawo, and the rest of them, to try and heal the governor of Ondo State. But the wife is having none of that. Because according to her, somebody want to take my wife, somebody want to take my husband, oh. I didn't say that. Akeredolu's wife said it. Maybe you should listen.
Good morning, everyone. This is Arabinrin. I have a message for Ademusa, and I believe that she is on this Aketi Women's platform. I don't have her number, and I don't think she's worthy of me having her number. I want this woman to stay away from my husband. Stop sneaking in concussion. According to her, they are from her pastors, her fake pastors, to give my husband to drink. We rely on medical care. We rely on Western style of medical care, and Aketi will get well. But what has triggered this very message is her recent nocturnal meetings to become the deputy governor of Ondo State. Look at you. What have you got upstairs to be the deputy governor of Ondo State? Yeah, peradventure, if anything happens to Aketi, Lucky takes over. It is a constitutional thing. But for you to be scheming, I warned Aketi from the word go that this woman is evil, this woman is no good. And it is happening. She has nothing good for you. I warned you. This woman is bloody evil. But I'm warning her for the very last time to stay away from my husband. And look, if you're dealing with an Igbo woman in this kind of situation, I will deal with you mercilessly. You will never forget in your life. For the very last time, Ademosu, whatever you call yourself, stay away from Aketi. Stay away from sneaking in those concussions. Stay away, this woman.
Stay away from my husband. Please, stop bringing concussion for my husband. You, this woman, I will show you that you don't take an Igbo woman's husband. Oh, I'm so sorry, First Lady. I understand. I'm not mocking you. Now, this one come public. We want to trick Akeredolu to sack his own deputy and make her the deputy. So that when Akeredolu paying, she can be governor And first lady is not having of that. Well, you won't kill my husband. You they chop my husband for my back. The governor. Now the person is sick. We are using medical, Western medical, whatever. Stop bringing concussion to my husband. Instead of madam to say, Aketi, don't disgrace me. You are a governor. I am the first lady. I have this report of this lady that has been coming to your office bringing concussion. You are drinking the whole thing. Or maybe Madam Betty told her husband. And Akeredolu was like, Ogbeni, forget you. Before I die now, something will kill man. No, something must kill a man. That's what we say in Nigeria or everywhere. They say something must kill a man. Say, Baba, no kill yourself. Oh. Baba, no kill yourself because of Yansho. Baba, you won't die because of boob. Which one? You can't lose your sense because of the, you know what that we say them in the African. Baba, you won't die because of woman. You won't die because of man. Baba, no die, oh. But unfortunately, it will like say, we, the same people will tell you, Baba, no, they scare me. I beg you. One thing must kill a man. Something must kill a man. Lastly, they will say, he died. Here lies a man that died because of, here lies a man that, you know what I mean? It's not new. And I think that's what Aketi told his wife, the first lady of Ondo. Mama, can't they throw the whole thing for all of us to chop and say, oh yeah, people help me, oh. This woman won't take my husband, oh. Madam, what do you think say we feed do? Like sincerely, oh, this is also part of that convo. Mama said he no get the number of the woman that has been bringing concussion to her husband. What do you want me would do? Or
this kind of situation, I will deal with you mercilessly. You will never forget in your life. For the very last time at Demosu, whatever you call yourself, stay away from Aketi. Stay away from bringing those, sneaking in those concussions. Stay away this woman. You won't find it funny with me, oh. You will never find it funny with me. You are very, very a terrible human being. Go away and go and enjoy your loot.
Leave my husband. Aketi no dey come house again. And we are supposed to be giving him medical care from Western world. You can't bring him Agbadorian. You see, I feel you. No be smart to know. If side chick don't they give your husband concussion to get well. But if you know be side chick, if you actually be the wife that is unofficial, and if you like say that man, if you talk which one be official or not, even if there is anything official put together on a document. I mean, I'm a man, so I know what I'm talking about. And I never really want any woman to be treated like this, but they are all politicians. It comes with the whole package. But I'm more interested in the health of Aketi. What is wrong with Aketi? What is wrong with Aketi? They said he has something to do with prostrate. Don't take my word for it, too. A rumor. But his wife just confirmed that something is wrong with him. And the thing that is wrong with him, may kill him. So, Akeredolu's wife is concerned that this woman is not just bringing concussion to her husband. This woman is convincing her husband to sack his deputy so that Aketi can nominate her as deputy governor. So if the person where they bring concussion for Aketi can't bring poison, Aketi die. Madam Becky will no longer be first lady. She would have to go and be a widow, mourning her husband. And guess what? That woman, side chick, will be governor of Ondo State. More, that will be the best side chick story ever. And it's not new. Nigeria is what Nigeria is. So don't see, calm down. Don't think it's impossible. It's very 100% possible. So this woman, we no call her husband. We no call the woman. The woman, the wife of the governor, who has access to DSS, police, and the rest of them. She couldn't use any of them because Aketi don't give her the protection. Madam First Lady, you have to alert all of us. Although Namarita wahala, but it includes the life of the millions of people of Ondo State. Now your life that they take play kite. So one feel life around Dodobo. It might be no. I believe the children are sleeping right now, but that's exactly why we say it. If everybody want to be so, they say, I can't even future around Dodobo. Sure you get. It simply means side chick is making the best of the best deal, and Ondo people, they actually have no idea. And the First Lady just told us, again, Emma Bino. Sure you get, I'm just saying what I think and all that. Let's go back to London, where another side attraction actually happened. Would you believe some people are actually like looking for Renault Mercury in London? I'm done. See, if you want to laugh, laugh. If you want to log out right now, okay? And make sure your children are not up. I should have warned you. I didn't. I'm sorry. I take that back. They said they won't beat Renault for London. When Renault said he was going to London House, Chatham House to go and look for Obi. And so this obedience, God said that they look for him. If we see Renault, did you see Renault? Did you see Renault? I mean, who saw Renault here? Did you see Renault? We are here with 2 by 2. If we see him, And I was actually waiting for the video where they will show me where they beat him. You know me, I'm just a diary. You don't need to like me or hate me. I am just a diary. Open me up. You go see everything what happened, when they happened, including video evidence. These guys were looking for Renault in London today.
About those Nigerians,
Marino, I wait for.
only I'm not trying to call.
Marino, we wait for like this.
I carry. I want to wear jeans. I want to wear jeans unless I won't go gym. But I wear jeans, wear jeans, come here from Hertfordshire just because I won't meet them.
Because I won't beat them. I tell you, it happened. I actually posted on my Facebook. Some people thought I was like, I don't incite people. I report what happened. And when I report them, I may have my own jara here and there. I'm actually going to be reporting 100% of what happened. Like nobody else is reporting it. Yeah, and they were looking for him. Here is another one. They were asking people, did you see Renault? Did you see Renault here? Won't beat him. Akeredolu treatment. Won't give him. And me, I was about to see if we go see video. The same Renault where they shout when Kolu was in London, remember? I said they were looking for him today. Sadly, he didn't show up.
No worries. Come on. It's okay. Come, did any of you see Renault? No, I don't see Renault. Did you see Renault? Top to bottom. We don't see Renault. Top to bottom. Sorry, I've been looking for Renault. Did you see him? No. Oh no. Did you see Renault?
Oh no, he can't come here.
Jesus Christ. Top to bottom.
Anyway, thank you very much for spending your evening with me. This is the end of this conversation. I wish I could take calls, but I won't. My time is so fast spent. I enjoyed every bit of it, but don't just laugh. Remember the educational part of it. The reason for this whole highlight is for you to understand the characters that are promising you things that they are likely not going to be able to deliver. Some believe they would. But in my own world, I've actually heard worse. I've heard so many lies. I mean, come on. Is there anything new that you haven't heard? Is this your first time of focusing or concentrating on Nigerian politics? Some of us actually gained our notoriety of understanding that we can never be manipulated. No nice word can get us set to believe the lies from any of these characters. But when it gets to a stage, when a system presses its own self-destruct button, what do? You join the spectators. Become a spectator, not just a spectator, a very, very educational one. The one that follows things and keeps record. You know why? If you said nobody can lie to you, it's because you have been lied too many times and you've kept the record of those lies. And you can actually ask politicians according to the lies they told when they are trying to convince you. On Mayegun's diary, political diary. Mayegun's diary, political rather. We keep all this intact. Then I leave you to be the judge of all that has been exposed to you. Whatever you decide on all of this, Baba, I don't have a saying that. You are only responsible for what you think should be the right thing to do. But if you ask me, Mayegun, where do you belong? I belong to that category of those who believe in free speech, freedom of association, and at the same time, who believe in the legitimacy of the advocacy for the sovereign nation of Yoruba land. It is legit. It is lawful. It is just that it is becoming unlawful in a lawless country like Nigeria. So if you ask me for my side will be the same thing 1 million times. To save Nigeria, please break it up. When I say break it up, it may be so straightforward and blunt. It is all about equity and justice, and then something like, that you share in common. And that was exactly what we signed up for when we got this independence, by the way. Everything else we have been told have all been lies, unsustainable lies. So if my program helps you to understand how complicated, or maybe not so complicated, the fraud Nigeria is, well, thank you. You're welcome. Rather, I'm going to see you some other time. I wish I could take calls, but I don't have such time anymore. I am going to see you some other time, and I'm going to probably bring you something new to whatever they are doing. Some people are falling for them. A lot of us won't. No matter how sweet, how nice they present them. We never fall for this. But nevertheless, nobody should feign ignorance of what is going on in Nigeria. With the amount of information available to you today, you have no excuse to say you are making decisions about Nigeria out of ignorance. That would be your own choosing. Don't pretend. It's what I've figured out. Even those of us that are telling them here that the election is charade and rigged, even before the first ballot is casted. A lot of us know that some of you who pretend to agree with us here, you have been busy collecting your voters' card here and there. See, I am not somebody who is here to judge you. I am just here to tell you, whatever you choose to do, whatever role you choose to play in all of this old nonsense going on, Baba, just make sure that you are bold enough to own up to them. Because for every decision you make or every action you take or any of this you participate in, there will be consequences and you can't shift the blame. Please, read or watch again if you just joined us. It's been a wonderful night or evening. I'm going to see you some other time. Stay safe and remember, until this hegemony collapse, seriously, it is simply kicking the can down the road. No matter what they do now. I'll see you some other time. Please enjoy your evening and good night from here.
Mayegun làwa mọ̀ làmọ̀ tó dòdòdò. Mayegun diary Nayibi #1. Mayegun làwa mọ̀ làmọ̀ tó dòdòdò. Mayegun diary Nayibi #1. Mayegun ti dé o ọ̀rẹ́ ara ìlú. Mayegun diary Nayibi #1. Lórí Facebook lórí YouTube. Mayegun diary Nayibi #1. Gbogbo bó ṣe ń lọ ni Mayegun já wa sí. Mayegun diary Nayibi #1. Àṣírí ọ̀jẹ̀lú kì í bò níbẹ̀ o. Mayegun diary Nayibi #1. ṣeré àní máyégún máa wí.
Máyégún dáyàrí na ibi number one.
Ó sì tún ṣeré wàá gbọ́ níbẹ̀ o.
Máyégún dáyàrí na ibi number one.
Máyégún dáyàrí pòlítíkò.
Máyégún dáyàrí na ibi number one.
Godfatherism kò sí lọ́rọ̀ máyégún.
Máyégún dáyàrí na ibi number one.
Ẹ farabalẹ̀ sẹ́ o kẹgọ́rọ̀ lẹ́nu o.
Máyégún dáyàrí na ibi number one.
Àní máyégún làwa mọ̀ tó dódòdó.
Máyégún dáyàrí na ibi number one.
Àní ẹ̀sùn ràkì.
Máyégún ti dé.
Máyégún ti dé. Ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀sùn ràkì.
Máyégún ti dé.
Àní ẹ̀sùn ràkì.
Máyégún ti dé.
Lórí Facebook.
Máyégún ti dé.
Àní ẹ̀sùn ràkì.
Máyégún ti dé.
Lórí YouTube.
Máyégún ti dé.
Àní ẹ̀sùn ràkì.
Máyégún ti dé.
Bọ́ bàbá gbé wúrẹ́.
Máyégún máa wí.
Àní ẹ̀sùn ràkì.
Máyégún ti dé.
Ijó ìgbádìyẹ.
Máyégún máa wí.
Àní ẹ̀sùn ràkì.
Máyégún ti dé.
Bí pẹ̀sìdó bá rúfin o.
Máyégún máa wí.
Àní ẹ̀sùn ràkì.
Máyégún ti dé.
Bí gómìnà kówó jẹ.
Máyégún máa wí.
Àní ẹ̀sùn ràkì.
Máyégún ti dé.
Ọlọ́pàá tí ń darí bá.
Máyégún máa wí.
Àní ẹ̀sùn ràkì.
Máyégún ti dé.
Aṣòfin tí ń rúfin o.
Máyégún máa wí.
Àní ẹ̀sùn ràkì.
Máyégún ti dé.
Òpùrọ́ olóṣèlú.
Máyégún máa wí.
Àní ẹ̀sùn ràkì.
Máyégún ti dé.
Ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀sùn ràkì.
Máyégún ti dé.
Àní ẹ̀sùn ràkì.
Máyégún ti dé.
Máyégún ti dé. Gbogbo ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀sùn ràkì. Máyégún ti dé. Gbogbo ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀sùn ràkì. Ṣùgbọ́n ní bá ti ṣe èyí tó yẹ kí wọ́n ṣe, ọmọ bá dèrò ní fi wọ́n níran o.
Máyégún ti dé. Gbogbo ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀sùn ràkì. Máyégún ti dé. Gbogbo ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀sùn ràkì. Ṣùgbọ́n ní bá ti ṣe èyí tó yẹ kí wọ́n ṣe, ọmọ bá dèrò ní fi wọ́n níran.
Wọ́n fowó bẹ́ẹ̀ o, Máyégún ó sọ pé wọ́n ò bẹ́ẹ̀. Wọ́n fowó bẹ́ẹ̀, Máyégún ó sọ pé wọ́n ò bẹ́ẹ̀. Oníkan ṣáàtì ṣe èyí tó yẹ kí wọ́n ṣe fáwọn ará ìlú tó gbé wọn débẹ̀ o.
Máyégún ti dé. Gbogbo ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀sùn ràkì. Máyégún ti dé. Gbogbo ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀sùn ràkì. Ṣùgbọ́n ní bá ti ṣe yìí tó yẹ kí wọ́n ṣe, ọmọ bá dẹ́rọ̀ ò ní fi wọ́n níran.
Kì máa yí ṣe eré, ọ̀rọ̀ yìí kì í ṣe ẹ̀fẹ̀. Kì máa yí ṣe eré, ọ̀rọ̀ yìí kì í ṣe ẹ̀fẹ̀. Ẹni bá ti lè lẹ́bọ̀ lẹ́rù o, ọmọ bá dèrò kàṣà ìtú wọn síta.
Máyégún ti dé. Gbogbo ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀sùn ràkì. Máyégún ti dé. Gbogbo ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀sùn ràkì. Ṣùgbọ́n ní bá ti ṣe yìí tó yẹ kí wọ́n ṣe, ọmọ bá dẹ́rọ̀ ò ní fi wọ́n níran.
Tẹnitẹni ọmọ Máyégún ọ̀rẹ́ ara ìlú mọ̀mọ́ ni mo fọlọ́hún ṣọ́ ẹ̀ bá kìlẹ́bù. Lóòótọ́ olódodo ìlú ọ̀tá ìlú mọ̀mọ́ ni ìwọ ṣá máa ń ṣọ́ra kò sì mọ́ bẹ̀rù. Bọ́tà ń lè rí bóníṣègùn lé káwọn mọ̀mọ́ fi ṣera wọn ni ó ti dẹrùn tí wọn ò gbọ́dọ̀ sì mọ́bẹ̀. Èèpo ọ̀bọ lọmọ bá dérò tàjẹ́ ò gbọ́dọ̀ jẹ́, ó ti dọba lórí abínú ẹni kò sì mọ́ bùyà. Àìsíwọ́lu ní ẹnìkẹ́ ìgbódì ẹyin lábàrá o, ó kó ẹni tó bá dán o àkàmù. Máyégún ti dé. Gbogbo ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀sùn ràkì. Máyégún ti dé gbogbo ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀ súnra kì o ẹni bá ti ṣe yìí tó yẹ kí wọ́n ṣe ọmọ bá dèrò òní fi wọ́n níran o.
Máyégún ti dé gbogbo ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀ súnra kì. Máyégún ti dé gbogbo ọ̀jẹ̀lú ẹ̀ súnra kì. Ṣùgbọ́n ní bá ti ṣe yìí tó yẹ kí wọ́n ṣe ọmọ bá dèrò òní fi wọ́n níran.